Great Scott! We're heading back to the 80s for day 2 of the Fixed Ops Roundtable event. Stepping out of her DeLorean now is the doc herself, Cara Delaine.
Good morning and welcome to day 2 of the Fixed Ops Roundtable Back to the 80s event. I'm your co-host, Cara Delaine. It's time to boot up your Nintendo and grab your Rubik's Cube because we're getting ready for the Fixed Ops Roundtable's 20th event. Video may have killed the radio star, but nothing can break our stride as we jump into another stellar day back in the 80s. Join us in the chat room by using the chat feature on the right side of your screen. Just make sure to select everyone and not just host and panelist. Who can it be now? None other than the great industry leader, Eric Barbosa of Cavender Auto Group.
Good morning and welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. We're starting our day with one of the great minds and great leaders in automotive retail. Eric Barbosa is here. He's the Vice President of Variable Operations at the Cavender Auto Group. Eric, good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on again, Ted. So looking forward to this interview.
Eric, congratulations to you, first of all. You're everywhere on social media. I feel like not much has changed, okay? But now I think you've taken it to you're going to continue to take it to a whole new level. So, it's just very inspiring to see you. And I know we've got some folks from the Cavender Auto Group here on the show as well.
Yes, sir. Yeah, appreciate that, Ted.
All right. So what I want to talk to you a little bit about today to open the show is earlier this year, you did I guess what you refer to as a wage gap analysis of employees at the dealerships, several dealerships that you've been responsible for. So talk to us a little bit about that. What got you, Eric, to do the research? What brought you to that?
Hopefully I can give her credit, and hopefully she takes it as credit. It was Lori Foster, who, I don't know if you know Lori Foster, but I met her a few years back at a Women in Automotive conference, and we kept in contact. And one day I think I posted something on LinkedIn about how we were, I think striving to get to 40% women representation in our organization. And she sent me a message saying, hey, why don't you, do this, go look at, what impact this may have and do an analysis. And I was like, interesting. And, but I wanted to know more for the reasons of, are we aligned? Our pay plans align with positions, right? And not just solely for the gap analysis of male or a woman or a male, right? Or a man, but are we aligned And that actually was the reason I started it. And then I reached out to my HR person there, and we started building this. I say we, she started building this spreadsheet out that took us a few months to get, but that's how it started.
I could see maybe a public dealer group doing something like this, but you took it upon yourself, without any of that, to start this. And I know it took you a couple months. What did you find, Eric, when you went through all the data?
Some interesting things. One is, if you're working at a dealership right now, it'd be a good idea to go through your pay plans. And so you have a lot of, and for us here, we have 700 in this current situation, 700 employees. I don't know how many managers exactly we have through the organization, but these people are doing pay plans, right? And hiring people. And you got to be very careful if you hire a person that might not have experience and set them here, and then you set somebody else down here, that could cause a problem. So analyzing pay plans and structures was the first thing. And luckily we had a good team there, and they were pretty aligned, and I didn't see any discrepancies there. One or two that we found out just in positions that we need to align and make sure they were the same, basically, in that department. The other thing, in places where we had more female representation, we were at 47%. There wasn't a real big gap when they had same opportunities, same commission base. What I saw, and I'll say this, the women were outperforming the males in those positions. And I know that's a weird thing to say, but that's we have the data that shows it, and it is what it is. And in a few departments, when they were commission based, they were performing at a different level.
Wow. Were you able to share this information with your team?
Oh, absolutely. But in our environment, I think we were already, it was normal for us. It now might not be normal for someone else. And again, I think we talked about before about the approach of why hiring more women is a strategy, or giving opportunities to not just women, but people that probably wouldn't consider our industry to try our industry by changing pay plans or schedules. Then you open up and you can get somebody who could be really efficient or very productive with less time.
I think I know the answer to this one, Eric. Has that been a strategy of yours?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been a strategy, and it's worked out.
Okay. So when you shared it, what did that make you and the team realize once you had all this data?
I think for our staff, it was good to know that we were on the right path. Second, that we need to get that information out, because I think that, again, that wage gap analysis sounds negative, and I think it should be used as a tool to find opportunities and not use it and spin it as a negative thing. It does exist. It's out there, and it could be for different industries. But once you do the research, this is what you should use it for, and it's to align everything, and then maybe open up the doors to people that you didn't think you would hire, because again, constraints in scheduling or pay plan structures that might scare some top talent out there out. And let's put it this way, I think for us, having a 50-50 balance was good, and hopefully we can strive. It'll be a little harder with 700 employees, but to get to at least 35% would be good here.
I know yesterday I met with one of your leaders at Cavender Automotive Group, and I know, she was not involved with this study, but it's Allie Peters, okay?
Yes.
And it was the first time she's been on the roundtable. She was on a panel, and we also had her on the weeknight show. And I learned in asking her, because she's been in business for a while, and she worked at a BMW dealership across the way, but I learned she was recruited, okay, by your dealership. So there's been a recruitment strategy at the group you're at now. And by the way, she was very impressed with the way that they went about that. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, and she does a very, very good job, and she heads up the JLR store in San Antonio, and they're very efficient. They're one, if not the top, grossing department that we have in fixed across the board. So she's amazing. Yes.
And she told me that she's like doubled the number of technicians in the last 12 months, and had just added a new service advisor. So back to your analysis that you did, Eric. Did the information that you find, did it change your strategy on recruiting and hiring?
It does not change my strategy. It just makes me be more aware, and it's leading me to make sure I educate other leaders, especially in our organization, and maybe people that I interact with in the industry, to take a look at what pay plans are. Take a look at it, and remember who's giving these out, right? Especially if you're not a corporately ran a dealership, maybe family operated. Take a look at those and make sure they're aligned, so there is no discrepancy. And the other one, think about, think outside the box. Like, if you didn't have these constraints, could you acquire this talent, and what does that look like? And test it out, because I think you're going to be very excited about the results you're going to get.
I like how you force us to think different, Eric. Okay. And then, the way we've thought in our business, as you know, historically for years, why is this information, why is this so important, you think, right now?
I mean, we hear it. It's we're let's talk about just the women part of it, right? We're out there, we're pushing. It's a word out there, right? Women in automotive, women, and not just as a deal, but as an industry. We're trying to attract them to make them feel comfortable in a male dominated space, right? And I don't think it needs to be male dominated. I think it needs to be people dominated. And when you think of that, is, that specific group might not be able to, or might not have chosen our industry because of constraints. Remove those constraints and you will see what they can do. And then again, the profitability will be impacted by acquiring this talent. Again, just scheduling the traditional stuff that we used to do. It's 2023. We got to think differently.
Yeah. And plus, I would imagine this also helps mirror your customer base, because women are the decision maker and are the customer. And it sends a message if you don't have women represented at your dealership, then the customer sees that.
I just went through it. My wife influenced me on a few different purchases, one of them being a home, the other one being what I drive. I thought I wanted this. She influenced that, but you're right. It'd be good. And my realtor was a woman.
Wow. Okay. All right. So, we've had women in our dealership, come up through the ranks, but typically there's been a ceiling, right? And we've seen that ceiling maybe in the BDC or in other areas. But now, we mentioned Allie, fixed ops director. I don't know how many female fixed ops directors there are in the country. We both know there's not enough, but we're seeing more women dealers, all right? Women general managers. So there really is no ceiling, Eric. And,
there's not.
It's going to take the men to help make that happen. I understand that.
Yeah, and break down that barrier where it's the right person for the right seat, regardless. And you're going to see that. I think I said it in the last one, that they not only deserve a seat on the table, they deserve a seat at the head of the table if they've earned it. And I agree 100%.
And the men need to speak up.
Absolutely.
In the room, even when the women are not in the room, right? That to stand up for these positions. And I know that's something certainly that you are continuing to do and lead the way on.
We have moms. Some of us are fathers to daughters. Think of that, and what do you want their future to look like?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the idea, the lifestyle of working in a dealership is, you and I know what that's been, okay, over the past, 10, 20 or more years, the type of hours. And I've seen you open to making changes and schedules and work days and doing that dealership wide. Talk to us about it, because there's a lot of learnings that come from that. It doesn't work every single time in every instance. But you've put a lot of thought and a lot of effort into that. I don't know if you want to share any of those learnings with us.
I mean, we went back a while back. I attempted, and I will say attempted, a 4-day work week across the board. And we learned a lot from it. It was good work-life balance. I probably did it prematurely at that place, but I attempted it and it felt good. And we had buy-in. And the best thing is that, the leadership there decided that it wasn't effective. So we didn't just pivot. We made it part of the scheduling, meaning that it was an option. So we made it optional for you to either work a 4-day work week or your standard 5, or if you wanted to work 6 days, whatever. We made it an option that wasn't an option before, opposed to going across the board. So we pivoted, but then we also attracted different talent that maybe we wouldn't have had, because now they get that extra Friday or that extra Saturday to spend with their family. And I think work-life balance is important. You can be really efficient with your time if you train that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
I learned that from you and another dealer, I think, in a panel that we did not long ago.
Yes.
Everybody, we're talking today to Eric Barbosa, Vice President of Variable Operations at the Cavender Auto Group. He's in San Antonio, Texas. He is someone who continues to open doors for others in the industry. Eric, last question for today to open up the meeting. Where does your passion, where does it come from to open up those doors? For people who would not normally consider, being in the retail auto industry.
Because I think I've been around it for so much. I've seen it. I was raised, I think I've told you this a few times before when we've talked, by a single mom who worked really, really hard. And she wasn't, she did everything possible. And I grew up with that competitive nature, and I got it from her. And I also saw that, when she was at a place that maybe it wasn't a good place, how that affected her as well. So it just always stuck with me. And ever since I've been in the business, I always thought about when I become in a leadership role to do that. And the second thing was actually going to a conference where I felt that, being a male, that I was the minority in the room. And that feeling, I was like, wow, people are feeling that. And if I can, not just for that segment, even Gen Zs, right? If I can build an environment where people can just produce, right? And grow in that environment, no matter what, I think that's a winning strategy for any business.
And Eric, the work you've done also, it says VP of Variable Operations, but I see a lot of what you talk about and do and post as well. You've got fixed in there, and I know you've got fixed on the mind, with the shops, and you're very much aware of the opportunities there. So Absolutely. On behalf of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, I want to thank you for being a door opener on the fixed side as well. I understand we have two female technicians who will be interviewed at this event as well.
Yeah, they're amazing. Wait till you guys get to see that. And they're great. That's going to be a treat.
Eric, on behalf of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, thank you for all you do for the auto industry.
Ted, thank you and your whole team. You guys are doing big things, and I'm a big fan of what you're all doing from the industry, for sure.
Eric Barbosa, everybody, one of the great leaders in our industry, Vice President at Cavender Auto Group, here today with us, back at the 80s at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
These are the best moments, when stress fades away and life can be enjoyed to its fullest. And helping people connect to these moments, that's what you do. Every day. Helping them find the car that's just right for them, with an easy flow from website to showroom to financing. Ensuring that their car runs safely, by sending reminders to show you're thinking of them and scheduling service that fits their busy lives. You're even helping keep their personal data protected. So times like these are worry-free. And we're here, behind you, every step of the way, through relationships built on years of listening and understanding. We bring the needed strength, knowledge, and experience to give you, our customers and partners, real peace of mind. Through our technology, we unify dealers, manufacturers, and software developers, sharing expertise and boosting collaboration for everyone's benefit. And by envisioning a future of innovative solutions, open platforms, and shared outcomes, we can shape our industry for years to come with the experiences consumers want. We don't take this unique opportunity for granted. The chance to do something truly special, to work at the heart of this industry, connecting it at every level, and taking it to new heights. We make the connections that move you. So together, we can create more moments like these.
Build trust and consumer confidence by becoming a Fixed Ops Roundtable certified dealer. Join the brand that's leading the way in automotive retail fixed operations. For more information on this limited time opportunity, visit fixedopsroundtablecertified.com. to focus on service BDCs today is Scott Davis from Volie.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable, back to the 80s event. Scott Davis is with us. He's the president and co-founder of Volie, the #1 BDC engine. Scott, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Oh, hey, Ted. Excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
I have heard a lot about the presentation you're about to show us. I know it's been very well received. We're excited about it. We're excited about all the energy going on with Volie right now. And you. And so with that, I'm going to let you take it away, my friend. And the show is all yours.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. So, guys, today we're going to focus on some strategies and some tips, things you can do to grow your service BDC. And I based this presentation on 10,200,000 phone calls that we had, 3.4 million inbound, 6.8 million outbound. So hopefully you guys will like it. These are things you can apply to your business, whether you have Volie or you're just trying to figure out how to make your BDC more profitable. So just real quick, Volie is a Fort Myers based company, Fort Myers, Florida. And we have software that dealers use who want to have an in-house BDC, and this software helps them be more efficient. We also have 30 automotive call centers that use it for those dealers who want to outsource those calls. So very excited to be here today. When I was putting this together, one of our new customers said to me, our margins are going back to where they were before COVID. We're going to add more focus to service because we can control our margins. And that's where a lot of our future customers are. So I thought, geez, how can we help people know what they need to do to run their BDC? Because frankly, running a BDC is hard. There's a lot of turnover. The dealership has gotten a lot more complex in the last 20 years. All the while, productivity stayed about the same. The cost of an agent has gone way up. Turnover is really high. I hear all the time, oh my gosh, we used to have a great BDC before Ted left and it all fell apart. Right? You've heard that, Ted, right?
I've heard that, yes.
And, we have a BDC. It's expensive. Well, so is every other department in the dealership. The goal is to know that you're running your BDC profitably. So these are the numbers that we're going to show today to help you do that.
Great.
The first part of the business, who here goes to Chick-fil-A? Chick-fil-A is fine. The food's okay. But I go to Chick-fil-A all the time when I'm traveling, mainly because they're going to keep their promise to me and do what they say they need, what they say they're going to do. I'm going to get the food in the drive-thru. It's going to, no matter how long the line is, it's going to be fast. They don't aggravate me. And half the time I think that's the key to business nowadays, is just not aggravating your customers. But that is the inbound business in service. So our first goal when we're trying to grow our service BDC is not aggravate the people who are trying to do business with us. So we're going to talk about inbound stats and things you should be measuring. First of all, you kind of have to walk backwards to see how you need to answer the phone. This isn't that surprising. Most of the calls come between 8 and 5. 4% of them come before hours. 3% of them come after hours. The calls are about 20% more from 8 to 11 than 2 to 5. Your busiest hour is always 9 to 10. So keep that in mind when you're staffing. The average inbound call duration, including transfers, is 4 minutes, 19 seconds. As an aside, if you schedule an appointment on the call, the average call is 4 minutes and 41 seconds. So take these numbers, work backwards to how many agents you need. An agent can answer, because calls are never perfectly distributed, answer about 10 inbound calls an hour of normal duration. They're going to have quick ones that they transfer, but that's kind of the math there. Mondays are different. Your entire staffing strategy needs to start with Mondays. Over the 3.4 million inbound calls we had, The average inbound calls received on a Monday was 39% more than the Tuesday through Friday average.
Wow.
Yeah. So your staffing strategy begins and starts with Mondays. No days off. Your part-time strategy you should do on Monday. I can't really explain it, by the way. The outbound contact rate was 11.4% better on Mondays. Makes no sense to me. The other thing that you're going to want to keep in mind, if you're not running your service BDC on Saturdays, which some stores don't, 9% of the calls that the stores that had a Saturday BDC, they came in on a Saturday. So you can grow your business on Saturday as well.
Well, good information. Great.
How do you look at your drop rate? So now we're getting into the aggravation part. When we looked at the people who dropped, only 37% called back in when they hung up. Of those, 74% had a previous service appointment in the DMS. So these people are trying to buy. What about hold time? This one really surprised me. 43% of your drops came within 30 seconds. People are not hanging on. The average hold time was 78 seconds. The typical answer would be I'm just not going to make outbound calls. I'm going to just wait for people to call and answer the phone. That's not the way to do it. I'll get to that in a little bit later, but people don't hang on for too long. The average time transferred to a service advisor was 2 minutes, 4 seconds.
Wow.
You should implement a strategy to try to eliminate or lower your focus on status checks. That's 2.4 minutes. The customer does not want to be on the phone. That's 2.4 minutes that your service advisor is not selling. Those are costly calls. Finally, customer drops. Customers hate IVRs, and they're a necessary part of all we do. Just know that 6% of all of them, they hit the IVR and people hang up. Make sure your VoIP system, if you don't have something like Volie, can make sure and call these people back as well. Okay, so what do you do if you do call them back? Across all service campaigns, when you're doing outbound campaigns, your answer rate is in the 20% range. Service retention is, mid-30s, but over all the calls they make. But if you call back a missed customer, 53% will answer, and 34% of them are going to make an appointment.
Wow.
So make sure that every day you're doing you're calling back your voicemails and your missed calls, and you're getting that bucket to zero. Most phone systems have the ability to tell who you missed. If you're not calling them back, you're aggravating your customers and you're costing yourself business. So
makes sense.
Go ahead, Ted.
No, it makes a lot of sense.
Okay. So that's the first step, to grow your business. You've got to manage the people for who you're going to do business with. So how do you grow it? Well, you need to interrupt them, just like you do in sales. Volie is call, email, and SMS platform, but we're going to focus on phone calls today and interrupting customers. So first of all, I hear all the time, my customers don't answer the phone at this point, or, I only want to call in the afternoon. The answer rates are fairly consistent throughout the day, about 20% better in the morning. The conversion rates are about the same across all campaigns. So including those ones that convert a lot lower, they haven't been in for a year and a half, et cetera. Mm-hmm. So make sure that you've staffed your BDC and keep them going on outbound all day. We looked in Volie to see everyone who the agent said wasn't interested. Did they come in? And these are service retention calls. Your right customers, 23% of them still came in the next few months. So as you're building agent metrics, one of the keys is that you want to have all of your agents look like your best agent. So track these metrics, and I'm telling you, you're missing sales in there. So one of the other things, and it's hard with a spreadsheet, but you can do it. if you don't have something like Volie or whatever. Most dealers give up too early on a customer. This was actually one large dealer group. We have 250,000 outbound service retention calls. So the answer rates are due to these were lower funnel calls, but 51% answered on the first try, and then you can see and so on. Once you get over 4 attempts, the answer rate was below 10, and the conversion rate was very little. So, but if you're not making multiple attempts, it's costing you business with these people who are good prospects to service. I see a lot of dealers, they print off a spreadsheet and they give up very quickly. They make a check mark, didn't get them, they move on. It's costing you money. How about, what's your answer rate? I won't go into this too much, but the government has created some regulations. You guys have seen calls on your cell phone labeled as potential spam.
Yes.
They don't say they're spam. They say potential spam because they don't know, and they're flagging a lot of calls. The 2021 estimate was 31% of all calls.
Wow.
Or 32%. You need to check your lines. So grab the lines that you're calling out on, call with different cell carriers on your staff, Verizon, AT&T, different times of the day, and see if they're getting labeled. You may need to subscribe to a service that helps cleanse these numbers, like dealer identity, or you might need to switch out the number. Part of the problem with that is that we're not making any more telephone numbers, so you might switch out a number and get another one back. But you need to watch that number because you're converting less if you're calling people and it's labeled as potential spam. I spoke with one of my customers, and Volie bundles that in, and he said one of the reasons I paid for this is because I had a customer complain and they thought we were doing something wrong. Why would we get our calls labeled? So look at those answer rates. It's affecting your reputation and your conversions. Okay, now let's get down to the math. This is the normal math on outbound service retention. 100 attempts, you're going to talk with about 32 people, and you're going to convert 20 to 30% of those people that you speak to. So 7 to 9 appointments. Your typical BDC agent makes 0 to 20 attempts. If you can get them to make 100 attempts besides their inbound calls they're taking, at the low end, 20% conversion, that is 28 extra outbound customer pay RO appointments a week.
Wow.
So when you're talking about if you want 50 more appointments a week, you need to make 850 more outbound attempts. One of the things, though, that I'm sure everyone's thinking about, Ted, is, geez, no one answers the phone. Is it important? What if we did nothing?
Right.
So we took the 6.8 million customers that are 6.8 million calls that we made outbound calls on, and we put them in 3 different buckets. First of all, we put the people who our dealers called, did not leave a voicemail, and didn't connect, and we made them our control group, the what if I do nothing group. Then we had the people who they left a voicemail but didn't reach, and then the people who they reached. So this is a global number, and these were service retention calls. So they're the ripest of the ripe of their database. 22% of these people came in anyway in the next few months, but the people that they contacted, 34% came in of the database. That's a 51% lift on the database. Wow. For the people that they were willing to interrupt. One of the interesting things is, what about leaving a voicemail? You get about a 3 to 4% lift just leaving a voicemail. Leave friendly voicemails. You took the time to dial them anyway.
Okay.
It costs you an extra 20, 30 seconds a call. So that would be my advice there.
Good advice.
When you're working at the start of the month and you're putting a plan together, don't just print off a list or hand them the list that the OEM gave you. We have 200 million people on our platform. Out of the DMS data, about 39% of them were duplicates. These OEM lists that you get handed, this is a generous number. It's about 61% of the people are duplicates, junk data. Take the time I mean, you can even do this with a spreadsheet. Load these people in, put them in a pivot table, take out the duplicates, or take out the people you spoke with last month. You're aggravating your customers. You're making your job harder for your agents.
Yeah.
Most BDCs work off bad, dirty data.
Sure.
So just recommended benchmarks. First of all, 85% efficiency. However you track this, typically agents with a desk phone, they're spending about 40% of the time on the phone. If you want to grow your service department, track however you can your agents on the phone 85% of the time. It's about 50 minutes an hour. That gives them 10 minutes to take a break, use the restroom, etc. You don't need to kill them. Your drop rate. You will not grow your service business if your drop rate is over 10%. If your drop rate is over that, if you're not measuring it, you need to start doing it now. The best dealers we work with, their drop rate is consistently under 6. The Fred Beans group last month for their 23 stores was 2.97%. They are not aggravating their customers. And the people that do drop or left voicemails, empty that queue every day. 100%. Remember, 53% equals 34%. Blended. I see when we speak with a lot of typical dealers, they say, "Oh yeah, our agents they're responsible for 80 calls a day." You need to, and the best dealerships, they run blended. They have agents do inbound calls and they do outbound calls. They don't have separate teams. When they're not an inbound call, they make an outbound call, and they track them different. Well, the benchmark we like to shoot for is for every 1 inbound call you make 2 outbound calls. At the moment, you got, your typical dealership is making almost no outbound calls. Start tracking and benchmarking those numbers. Again, answer rates on service retention, 30 to 35%. Test those lines, and then we like to see, we see this with our dealers, conversion rates of 30% of the people you speak to. Benchmark, these are, that one can be tracked no matter what. So if you call 100 people and you speak with 32, we'd like you to schedule 9 appointments. So you can track that. That's easy to track no matter if you're doing it with a desk phone. So grow your business doing that. Just a couple more slides. I'm okay, Ted.
You're fine. Great information, Scott.
One of the keys is to make all of your agents look like your best ones. These are actual numbers from one of our dealer groups. I grabbed 5 people. The contact rates are lower because they do a ton of high funnel. People haven't been in for a while, but you'll get the point with this. So if we look at contact rate, Damien is only connecting with 3.47% of the people, going off the exact same list. Damien is pumping up his outbound attempts by dialing and hanging up. He needs to be counseled. How about Erica? Erica's numbers are relatively the same. She must be new because she's not taking a ton of inbound calls. She's converting them pretty decently, but her outbound conversion is 7%. Listen to the recordings of her calls, sit by her. I would guess that you can really move her up where she's at. So remember, make all of your agents look like your best ones. You can do that easy. And really, these are my metrics. These are some of the ones that we track, but really anything you track that you can follow up on will improve your BDC. So key learnings. First of all, blended is better. Inbound calls and outbound calls as part of a strategy that works together, and track them separately and benchmark them separately. First things first, remember, we're going to be Chick-fil-A. We're not going to aggravate our customers. So make sure you're managing the calls that the business of the dealers who are trying to give you business, and manage that drop rate and call them all back. If you want to grow your business, you need to interrupt people, just like the sales department does. And you need to do it. It's a simple math game. 6.8 million calls prove it out. Be cheerful. Leave a voicemail when you don't receive them. No Mondays off. Remember, our staffing strategy starts with Monday, period. And then finally, this is one of the key things. man, I sit here and I think of the vendor of the dealers on this call, and I think, oh my gosh, I'd love it if all of them looked at Volie. But frankly, you guys are worried about your own stuff. You know, you don't think of me as much as I think of you guys or any of the other vendors who are on the roundtable this May. That is just like your customers. They're not thinking of you. So if you don't interrupt them, you're not going to grow your business. And the good benefit of an outbound appointment, you're either going to get someone who is going to defect, or you're going to get them to come in sooner, which if you speed up the velocity of your database after many months, you've got a lot more revenue right there. So keep in mind, they're not thinking of you. So plan on interrupting them and don't assume that one attempt is enough. You know, one call, they're just not thinking of you. So I hope you enjoyed that. Please reach out and let me know if you have any questions. My cell phone's at the bottom. Whether you have a system or you're using desk phones, I'd love to see you improve. The nation is full of really hardworking, well-intentioned agents.
Yes.
And let's help them make more money and help the dealership. So I feel like I went through that really fast, Ted. I hope it was okay.
Scott, that is among the best data I have ever seen regarding the BDC. You've answered a lot of questions. The benchmarks are amazing that you just provided, and it's all current, up to date, and it's all related to service, which is our audience. So spot on, Scott Davis. Kudos to you. Congratulations. I know you're doing a whole lot at Volie. I see your email up there on the screen and in the ticker as well. And now that's your cell phone as well, the 319 down below.
Yep.
Scott, there's a lot of dealers. The number one topic here at the roundtable, I would say for the past 9 months, has been the phones. Okay. Yeah. And if our audience wants to reach out to you, I know Volie.com. What's the best way? Is it that phone number? Is it your email? What do you prefer?
Any which way is fine. You can go on the website, fill out a form, or call me. We'll be here to help. So
millions of calls, everybody. You just saw the data unveiled by Scott Davis here at Volie. We recommend you reach out to Scott. Volie is an amazing resource. A lot of our retailers use Volie. I think that is going to grow substantially. And Scott, congratulations to you with all the success that Volie is having in the market for service.
Thanks, Ted. And things like this are, really help Volie out. So, I appreciate you having me on.
Hey, super timely, right here in the middle of the second quarter, in the middle of May. Everybody, Scott Davis, he is the president and co-founder of Volie. Reach out to him. His email and cell numbers at the bottom of the screen. Volie is a great resource, and they can help you. And at the beginning, they can help you get your questions answered and get you on the right path. Scott Davis, everybody, from Volie, here today.
See you guys. Hope you enjoy the show.
Change. It's the only constant, especially in the automotive industry, which is always evolving. Facing these challenges head-on, Dealer Vantage has built a solution to increase profitability, retain more customers, and drive more business to your service department. Garage Share, a revolutionary platform that provides unique customer insights to dealerships. Garage Share delivers comprehensive information on all vehicles in your customer's garage, not just the ones you sold them.
We live in a wild time for automotive retail. Inventory supply, staffing, customer expectations, everything is changing. But if there's one constant across all of these changes, it's that everything's getting more connected. Because that's what your customers demand. From sale to service, your customers expect you to personalize your approach for them. And with Garage Share, we provide the consumer insights to meet the customer in their household. What Garage Share gives you the ability to do is segment all of the vehicles that are already within your customer base. Don't just service the vehicle you sold them. Be their servicing center for every vehicle they own. By understanding every vehicle at your customer's address, you can proactively engage off-warranty vehicles to drive more customer pay work. The customers you keep are always your most profitable ones. And by being their go-to source for all sales and servicing, those customers aren't going to go anywhere. Everyone is struggling to build used inventory. What if you could target fully owned used cars that are top sellers in your market? The best part? It's easy. Everything's just a few clicks away. Consumer expectations are constantly evolving, and our team at Dealer Vantage is right there with you, giving you the tools to help you adapt, innovate, and connect with new opportunities.
Our next speakers are totally tubular. Please welcome Les Silver from Dynatron Software, along with Marcus Aman.
Welcome back to the 80s at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. What a great discussion to be had on technician productivity. We've got two of the experts in the field. Les Silver is with us. He's the executive chairman of Dynatron Software. And also coming back to the roundtable today, Marcus Aman from Bayley. Les and Marcus, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Ted, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
Yeah, glad to be back, Ted. It's been a while.
Great to have both of you. What a fantastic discussion. And Les, if you don't mind, I'd like to kick things off with you, if that's all right. Les, here we are, middle of May 2023. What do you see? What what issues are dealers facing today in terms of technician productivity?
Well, technician productivity sort of fits in the overall equation. If you ask dealers, do you want more work? You'll find that 99 out of 100 are saying, sure, bring it on. Inherent in that, though, is the ability to get that work done. No point in having work if it's going to create a backlog and have your customers dissatisfied because they can't get the work completed. So the productivity element, being able to generate hours, being able to turn jobs, is a critical constraint. You can't just sell. You can only sell if you have the capacity to be able to deliver. And one key element of that capacity is how much work can a technician, in fact, turn. The productivity side of it is vitally important to being able to get the work done.
Makes a lot of sense, Les. Marcus, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'll echo a lot of that. And, it's, understanding if you can get more out of your shop or your technicians, are we scheduling enough work? Can we schedule more work? How do I understand if a technician is being efficient or not? Are our technicians doing their minimum job requirements, their multi-point, their DVIs, and getting the recommendations up in a timely manner? Are they above or below a set baseline? And are they improving on a 3, 6, 12-month benchmark? And if they're not, why? It's understanding some of those things that I think is really, really helpful.
Marcus, you've got your roots in retail as a former fixed ops director. I remember that. And you've been very busy lately in tackling a lot of these concerns and issues. Marcus, what steps should dealers be taking to identify those issues in productivity and capacity right now?
Yeah, I think capacity can be a huge issue. I think it starts with looking at the data and understanding, what you're currently doing versus what you could be doing. And in order to do that, you have to understand the data behind your everyday operations. How many hours are in the day? How many bays do you have? How many technicians do we have staffed today, tomorrow, this week? Do we also have express service bays? If so, how many bays and what type of production can we get out of them? What is my average bay time per vehicle I work on? How many appointments can we take in per hour per bay? And then what about free capacity for service advisors, the sold work that they sell? Another one is what percentage of your customers are waiting versus dropping off? Solving this capacity issue can be somewhat of a jigsaw puzzle, as all of the pieces have to kind of fit together, sometimes a little more loosely than snug. However, finding some of the answers to these questions will help you better understand any capacity problem you might have.
Les, your thoughts on what dealers need to do to identify those issues in production and capacity?
Well, the key is to be able to give the service advisor an inventory of free capacity to be able to sell. If you ask the service advisor, have you found any additional service work? Whatever inspection process, as an example, is going to find things that may be wrong with the vehicle. How aggressively is the service advisor going to be explaining to the customer that that's needed if they don't have the capacity to deliver? Fact is that service advisors are wanting to be aggressive, but they're also pain averse. If they're going to find themselves in a situation where they promise the customer additional work and they don't get it done, they're creating a problem for themselves, and they're just not going to do it. So it's always important that there be spare capacity in order to be able to have something, spare inventory to be able to sell. Now, that comes from technician available hours, or it comes from technicians being able to do more in the hours that they're there. So staffing properly, but also having a level of productivity, parts availability, knowing where the car is. One of the things that attracted me to Marcus and the work that's being doing in Bayley is they're looking at things that are going to allow the same number of technicians to be more productive by weeding out waste and by finding their opportunity to I'm not going to spend 10 minutes looking for a car. I know where that car is, and I'm just going to go and get it. That's 10 minutes more that you can produce. And if you don't have that capability, you're going to be stuck with very poor production levels and very poor capacity.
We're speaking today to Les Silver of Dynatron Software and Marcus Aman of Bayley on the subject of technician productivity, two leaders in our industry. Les, you've been involved in a whole lot of technology and brought a lot of things to market over the past number of years. Les, and I know you're working and have been watching also the good work that Marcus is doing at the dealership level as well. Les, what strategies have you found that are effective in managing workflow and ensuring the techs can work at their highest level of productivity? And then, Marcus, I'll ask you the same question as well.
Well, first of all, do you really know where the technicians are, what they're doing and what they're working on, and what performance standards is expected for every job that they're doing? One of the things that Bayley provides in one of their programs is the ability to be able to time every line item on every job and to be able to know how long did it take for that technician from start to finish to get to the job, to, as Marcus mentioned, get approval if there's ASRs that are necessary. These are time sinks that you really suck up a good chunk of the day if you don't do it very, very professionally. So knowing what the technician is doing, knowing what each technician is working on in the stall at any moment, knowing and providing them with the capability to get parts, get cars, so that they're able to produce. That's the whole, talk to Tully, hours. We've got to be able to find available hours and use them effectively.
Yeah, makes so much sense. Marcus, your thoughts on strategies to be effective?
Yeah, well, I think technician productivity is huge, and I just want to say I have the utmost respect for technicians. Working on vehicles is tough, and it's a manual job, of course, and it really takes special individuals to do that job, and we should honor them more. In saying that, one way we can honor them is by looking at some of the hurdles and problems that they have while working on a vehicle. Are they waiting on the parts department for too long? How long are they sitting idle or waiting on the service advisor to sell additional recommendations? How long is it taking them to find special tools or mess around with that broken R134A machine? Ultimately, time is money. And for a flat rate technician, it's just that. Focus on the small, simple details to save them time and increase their production and efficiency is critical, I think. And then also regular communication between management and technicians can also be helpful to identify and address any capacity issues and productivity issues that may arise.
Marcus, Les mentioned Tully Williams at the Nilo Company, and Tully has a saying, Les. He says he wants his technicians to go home rich and tired. All right. So I've enjoyed that, but it's so true. And, Marcus, you're probably one of the first people I've seen to actually implement technology in improving efficiency in the automotive repair shop. So congratulations to you, Marcus. You're having a lot of success with that at Bayley. And I know that got Les's attention, early on, and now you're growing. And I see that in dealerships all throughout the country. Marcus, your thoughts on the role technology is playing in improving efficiency in that repair shop?
Well, when we're talking about capacity and productivity and efficiency, there are a lot of things to manage and focus on. I think technology helps by answering a lot of those questions for you, analyzing performance and providing you with the right information to run your dealership, your shop better. The case for any technology is to provide the user with a tool that helps them look like a superhero. And helps them have insights that they normally wouldn't have or that their competitor currently doesn't have. In the case of Dynatron, analyzing individual technician performance based on the data that they're gathering is critical to the growth of the shop and the technician. And then pairing that data with real-time shop data, I believe is a real game changer. So not only do you know technician performance, but you can also understand the Bay data and what that means for a technician and the total shop performance.
There is no place where you can find the real data on what's going on in the stall. It's like a black hole. When the car was written, when the car was complete, but you don't necessarily know what happened in between. And that, impacts on, is the work being done as effectively and efficiently as possible? Can you tell the customer when they call? It's still a huge problem for status that you really don't know when the customer calls what's going on with that vehicle. Is it in the shop? Where is it? What jobs are yet to be done? How long are they going to take? This is all information that the customers are craving, but more often than not, they're put on the black hole of death, the holds line, waiting for try to track down where's that car, and to be able to have the eye into the shop on where is that car and when is it likely going to be complete, is something that's widely needed, but not done very effectively at all.
Marcus, yeah. I think back, if I may, 10, 12, 15 years ago when the multi-point inspection was first introduced to the technicians, and then less with the electronic MPI. Marcus, we had in the early days, and I know both of you know this, we had a lot of resistance from technicians, in the early part about having to do this multi-point and then do it electronically. Marcus, I wanted to ask you, any initial resistance, and what kind of resistance, on the technician side from coming in to monitor and help improve, this efficiency in the shop?
Well, the key is accountability. Technicians love holding other people accountable because, you put the power in their hands, and now they can say, hey, it's not me holding me back here. It's maybe the parts department. Maybe I'm waiting on parts. Maybe it's the service advisor. And every time I make recommendations, I'm sitting back here idle for 20 minutes before he gives me the thumbs up or the thumbs down on whether the customer approved it. So there's a layer of transparency there that gives them a little bit more power in that process. And when they see that, and then especially when they see that they're turning more hours, and they're becoming more efficient overall. And they can see a leaderboard of, where they actually rank in the process. I think that's helpful in getting them to adopt a new solution.
We have to make the service shop friendly for the new generation. You're finding that a lot of your technicians are getting to that stage where retirement is an option, or a job that is perhaps less stressful than flat rate technician. As a result, just as an industry, the capacity that's available is difficult to harness. So we got to make it more attractive to the younger guys, and get them wanting to come into an industry that, quite frankly, is surprisingly lucrative. Most of them aren't even aware of the fact that there's an opportunity for themselves and their families to earn the kind of income that they can. And if you're able to plug these little holes, back in the day, we drew a little picture of a bathtub with leaks in it, and you got to plug each leak one at a time to be able to maximize that technician's capacity and productivity. But that's money in their pocket. If they're not spending 5 minutes looking for a car, that car they can just walk out to it. They know where the keys are. They're able to grab the keys, grab the car, start work. That's going to add the ability to turn more hours that day. That makes your shop that much more attractive, a place to be working. And you've got to be able to find the young people, find the new generation of technicians, and offer them things that are in line with their expectations on how technology is being used in their lives everywhere else, because it is. They're technology nuts, unlike the older generation, my generation, that had to go kicking and screaming. These are people that are looking forward to how technicians or how technology can be assisting them.
Yeah, and I'll also add to that in that I think automatically updating the internal staff at the dealership, as well as having the ability to update consumers automatically without somebody having to go in and manually click that something's changed here, can be tremendous in providing transparency and keeping everybody updated in the process of movements of things. And, I think it's a real game changer.
Marcus, isn't it great? We hear this, you've used that word now a couple times, and we're hearing it more and more, the word transparency, right? When it comes to fixed operations. So that's a new word for us. Last question for today, gentlemen. I'll come to Les first on the Dynatron side, and then Marcus on the Bayley side to bring it home. Les, what processes do you think dealers should have in place to monitor performance and identify areas for improvement? And I'll ask you that through the lens of Dynatron software.
Well, our attraction to Marcus actually, came from the realization that he was doing stuff that isn't being done at Dynatron, wasn't being done anywhere else that we were able to find. We're kind of proud of our ability to be able to look at our core business, but also look outside our core business and find innovative people that are coming up with newer solutions. Being able to really know what's going on in that black box, to be able to know that when that car moves into the shop, we haven't lost it. It's fully transparent what's going on, how long it's taking, who's doing it, where they are in the process, is something that is truly a game changer. My first job, you may remember in the industry, was in service scheduling with a General Motors product called SOS, Service Order Scheduling, which attempted to track, what's going on in the shop and productivity in the technicians. This is that on steroids, the ability to be able to know exactly what's going on and to be able to deliver that additional capacity to the shop and to the consumer.
Love it. Marcus, Aman at Bayley, I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, I think you have to inspect what you expect, but in order to do that, you have to be able to measure the data, and in real time, preferably. And maybe this is a daily RO hard copy or DMS review that you're doing, or maybe you have a partner like Dynatron or Bayley to help. I think that's important. Map out what you think the best run shop would look like and focus on the weaknesses that you may have. If you improve one or two simple things that you could change today or this week and continue to do that until you've reached a satisfactory level. And again, it starts with time. Time is money. How can we save time to make more time, billable hours? What processes do you have today that you can confidently say you're perfect in? I personally, I'd monitor everything, appointment scheduling, technician schedules, write-up process, MPI process, advisor, customer process after MPI. And if you look, you might be surprised that there is something there that can be corrected or fixed that is potentially costing you thousands of dollars a month.
If you just do the back of the napkin calculation, how much does an extra 15 or 20% in productivity mean to the technician, to the shop? What's in it for me? Do that calculation and then get started in looking at every place where there may be a hole and just plug it up, because that is what you need one at a time to be able to generate that additional revenue for yourself and for your technicians.
Love it. Two of the greats here with us today. Marcus, I can't think of anybody better to be on the roundtable with than Les Silver, because the audience always lights up when Les comes on, and we have a lot of great feedback. So Les Silver, everybody, he's the executive chairman at Dynatron Software. You could see the website scrolling by at the bottom, dynatronsoftware.com, with Les's email. Marcus Aman at Bayley, and you've got his URL as well scrolling by, and his email. They're both on social media. They're accessible, and they've got great teams working for them. So Marcus and Aman and Les, on behalf of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, congratulations to both of you on your success, and thank you so much for this today.
Yeah, appreciate you, Ted. Thank you so much.
Ted, thank you so much for what you're doing to the industry. Appreciate it.
Les, Fixed Operations is coming into, we see it now coming into its own, right? It's amazing, all these years, and here we are.
All these years.
All right, everybody, two of the greats, Les Silver and Marcus Aman, here today, back at the 80s at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Opportunities for revenue growth are out there, and they're closer than you think. The problem is most service departments lack the time, software, and data to see these opportunities. They're in the dark. That's where we come in. We help shed light on revenue growth opportunities hidden within your data. Dynatron gives you the tools, coaching, and knowledge to maximize your service department revenue. From optimizing labor rates on maintenance and repairs to helping with manufacturer warranty labor rate and parts markup, our training and software gets you the most from your data. We illuminate these revenue opportunities with 3 fundamental solutions powered by our ROI suite and expert coaching. Price Smart. Our Price Smart solution drives additional revenue through price optimization. Charging the perfect price for services maximizes revenue while maintaining retention. Pricing compliance. Holding service advisors and technicians accountable to avoid costly mistakes that can lead to significant ELR and retention erosion. And parts and labor warranty filing. Price optimization and compliance prior to filing maximizes the process, which leads to larger revenue opportunities. Where other companies just file, we maximize and file. Sell Smart. Our Sell Smart solution is a customized, dealer-specific, technology-enabled sales training program for your service advisors and management team. It focuses on improving each advisor's revenue-generating potential with continuous improvement. Small but consistent changes add up to big results. Market Smart. With Dynatron's Market Smart solution, we analyze your service department data to develop custom, multi-channel marketing campaigns that target existing and new customers. We guide additional traffic to your service drive, resulting in tangible ROI. Powering these solutions is our ROI suite and expert coaching. We take your repair order data, process it through our proprietary algorithms, curate new data, and combine to find new insights. Then, our expert coaches guide you through our proven turnkey process to discover new opportunities and deliver results, ultimately seeing a 5x to 15x ROI each year you partner with Dynatron. Managing your service department is hard enough. You don't need another vendor. You need a long-term partner. Don't stay in the dark. Accelerate your service department revenue today. Visit DynatronSoftware.com.
Looking to power up your DeLorean? Learn how to supercharge your warranty processing with Jim Roche from WarrCloud.
Welcome back to the 80s at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Jim Roche is the founder and CEO of WarrCloud, and he is disrupting and transforming the warranty processing industry. Jim, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you, Ted. It's great to see you again. Hello, everyone. Always happy to be here. Looking forward to the summer coming up. So far, what a great year, huh?
Congratulations to you. I've seen a lot of big announcements in the last 4 or 5 months, Jim. So one on top of another. So you keep adding with that. Congratulations. You got some great personnel. You got a wonderful team. And I can't wait to hear about more disruption because you are certainly bringing it to the industry. So
thank you, Ted. Who would have thought that warranty processing could be so exciting?
Yep. Well, here we go.
Great. Let's go. As everyone knows, we'll look at some slides. We'll look at some interesting data. No shock here, but just to level set the audience, we're coming out of a period of, really intense profitability on the vehicle sales side. But guess what's happening? The pendulum is swinging back, and we're normalizing to where service is going to be the majority profit driver again, if not this year, and I think it will be this year, certainly in the years to come. And because we're seeing a reversal of the great fortune we've seen over the last couple of days, I think in 23, we'll see dealers and GMs expecting more service profit contribution. Certainly as new and used sales margins erode, dealers have gotten used to, let's call it the new normal when it comes to profitability, and service will have to fill the profitability gap. Service is old reliable. However, we're in a slightly different game, in my opinion. I think we have, or are about to enter, a challenging customer pay environment. Number one, we're going to see many more electric vehicle sales. We already know we're in an uncertain economy. We have been in and continue to be in a rising interest rate environment. And I think all of this just creates more CP opportunity. And because of that, what that means is that warranty is going to be the most likely driver of revenue improvement going forward.
Sure.
So let's talk on that a little bit. You've seen this slide before, although it's been updated. This is the warranty revenue history and where we think warranty is going to go. We saw over 38% growth in warranty in the run up to the pandemic. And we're projecting through 2026, almost another 20% growth in warranty, which is a whopping big growth over a couple of years. Wow. Two reasons for that. One, the obvious one, we're going to sell millions more new vehicles in the coming years. And millions more new vehicle sales means millions more warranty covered cars on the road. And that just means more warranty for the dealer. You got to love that. The second and more interesting thing is if you take a look at the warranty costs of electric vehicles. This slide from We Predict over at JD Power shows that the warranty costs in the first 12 months for an electric vehicle run about 300% higher. I know, Ted, that is so counterintuitive to what we've all kind of conditioned ourselves to think. Run about 300% higher in terms of warranty costs. And there are nearly 150 new EVs or hybrids coming to market in the next couple of years.
Sure.
So those two things are going to drive significant warranty. Not a bold prediction that we're going to see increasing warranty as we go forward. However, it's all not a silver lining, and this is where it gets interesting. We already know that the cost of processing warranty, which today is 100% manual and very inefficient, cuts deep into process. Processing claims consumes about 12% of your gross profit from warranty. Each claim takes about 11 minutes to process. It's hard to find people. There's no automation currently that helps make this more efficient. Speaking of people, what we've seen is that the W-2 employees who have historically done warranty at the dealerships are on the decline. And we've actually changed this slide to show that this trend is accelerating. People are leaving the workforce or they're retiring from the dealership, and they're not being replaced by the younger generations. You wonder, well, why is that? And I think it's sort of obvious. One, unfortunately, automotive retail is not, a primary career destination for a lot of the younger generation. And two, well, my daughter said it best when I asked her about this. She's 26. She said, yeah, Dad, nobody my age wants to sit at a green screen and push warranty around. So
no,
when you put it like that,
that's true.
So what else is happening in warranty? Well, we've got some interesting things happening on the OEM compliance side, a bit of a mixed bag. What we're seeing is that the larger OEMs are easing up on the documentation requirements. The most obvious example, no longer requiring tech punch time or base opcodes. But, and this is a big but, you must be compliant with the key metrics in order to get eased up. It's critical that your key metrics be above average, meaning when I say key metrics, your time to close an RO, your time to submit the RO, and the success rate for the first time you submit it. And where you're subpar, the OEMs are, and Ted, we've talked about this before, we know that they are back on the audit trail, not universally, but we're going after people who they see are not really up to par when it comes to those documentation needs. So you got to really be careful there. This one really new, but super interesting. As most know, we're seeing amendments on a state-by-state basis to the franchise tax laws that increasing warranty reimbursement rates. Legally, they have to bring them up to retail. Already complete in Illinois, Wisconsin, and Montana. A lot of states are working on it. Wow. As these go through, they will cost the OEMs billions. Those dollars will shift from the OEMs to the dealers, and will be service revenue, which everybody says, well, that's great. And the OEMs will probably sit back and say, well, that's okay. Or maybe they won't.
And there's some big states there. I'm looking at California, Texas, Colorado.
In Illinois, Volkswagen, now this is just one brand, said that this had cost them over $100 million, right?
Wow.
So yeah, it is huge. So what's the takeaway? We're not sure how the dust is going to settle yet, but what's the takeaway? That the compliance will be critical, right? A couple other things that have happened, looking back to Q1 and through May that we just want to also factor in when we're thinking about warranty. Number one, so far, over 10 million vehicles have been impacted by recalls since January 1st. That is a huge number of vehicles. Acceleration of the warranty amends leaving the industry and not being replaced is moving faster and faster. And you got to ask yourself, well, if I have fewer people available and I'm getting more vehicles, how can I do more when my people are already at capacity? Remember, we all run a lean shop, right?
Yeah.
So what do you do if they're already at capacity, or worse yet, they've left the workforce and you don't have somebody? Keep in mind, and this goes back to the origin story of WarrCloud, every unprocessed warranty RO is an uncashed check. Every 10th that's not billed, you leave on the table. That's money that you've left on the table. So the solution to all of these issues is using technology to automate your warranty claims processing. Now, I've been saying that for some time here on the Roundtable, and I have gotten my fair share of questions from people who say, right, what does that mean? So what I wanted to do is sometimes in technology companies, you kind of want to, you want to guard the crown jewels, if you were. You don't want to give away the recipe for the secret sauce.
Sure.
It took us over 5 years to build WarrCloud. So it seems to me that the easy part is talking about it. The hard part is doing it. So without going into too much gory detail, so what is warranty claims automation? It means that all aspects of the claim submission process, meaning it moves from the dealer to the OEM and gets paid, have to be digital and automated, right? I mean, that's sort of the table stakes.
Okay.
But let's jump into the nitty gritty a little bit. So what does warranty claims processing automation mean? Well, first, you extract the RO from the DMS automatically and digitally, and it comes into some technology platform. There, the technology processes the repair order. What do I mean when I say process? Well, it reads the RO. It checks the claim, verifies, corrects, or adds opcodes that are wrong or missing, as well as flat rate time. And it also looks at the VIN pattern by trim level and equipment to identify those additional tenths, allowances, or fees that, if you know to get them, you're entitled to them. But it's not done there, because more and more what we're seeing is that the OEMs want supporting documentation. The RO itself isn't enough. So the system, the technology, checks to see if there's any supporting documentation required. And if there is, it sends an alert to a mobile device, whoever is at the dealership is responsible for this, and allows them to take a quick picture of a battery test slip or rental car receipt, and then it attaches to the RO. And finally, it takes all of that and sends it into the OEM, again, automatically and digitally.
Wow.
When we say, what is warranty claims automation, that is what we're referring to.
Wow. Wow. Great explanation.
Thank you, sir. So it needs to be impacting most of the steps that the dealership undertake. I mean, if it's not impacting enough steps, then it's really not helping. So what I'm showing you here are all of the steps that WarrCloud impacts in the journey or the lifetime of a warranty RO, in which you can see it's the majority, which means the dealership is getting more efficiencies. Efficiencies in terms of getting it submitted and getting paid, but also efficiencies insofar as your employees, your service personnel, are not spending time moving paper around. What they're doing now is they have more time available to themselves to focus on the guest experience. And we all know a great guest experience improves loyalty, and that's really the name of the game.
Yes. Okay, look at that.
So, but let's talk about that. And what I want to do is I want to get you oriented to, as an example, think about how we use TurboTax, because TurboTax is what it is. It's a claims automation platform, right? The way we used to do is we used to sit down and we'd fill out a form. Now, who in the world can remember all of those rules, all of those exceptions? Nobody, right? Nope. It's the same thing with warranty. There are literally millions of rules. So a couple of things related to technology is, for Takata, a Takata recall, there's a $20 admin allowance, but you have to know it and you have to remember to ask for it. Well, the technology remembers every time. Mm-hmm. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of recalls that have add times based on a specific model, LTZ or SLT trim in the GM example, that the tech already knows and gets you reimbursed for. Also, Takata airbag recalls have an allowance of $100. Again, if you remember to file for it. Many recalls have related add times for specific vehicle equipment. The WarrCloud bots know those, automatically ask for them. The example here is you get an extra $100 if it's a 4x4, right? Now that's fairly arcane. Again, a warranty administrator, assuming that you still have one, has to remember that. Not only do they have to remember the rule, but they have to remember to submit for it, to ask for it, and they have to remember the rules around it, or you won't get reimbursed. And that's why I go back to the TurboTax. Who in their right mind would say, okay, a claims processing platform that automates everything and knows every rule, or I'll just take my pencil and do it myself.
Yeah.
I know.
It's a great analogy.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, just the idea, and no one. Last I heard, TurboTax is doing okay as a business.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So that's what warranty claims processing is. What is not warranty claims processing automation? Well, having this copy, scan, or believe it or not, ship repair orders to a third party.
Sure.
Anything having to do with moving paper around, scanning and emailing PDFs. That's you're moving paper. You're just doing it digitally. You know, reading your claim status in a spreadsheet that somebody sends you or allows you to log into. Not having a fully automated and integrated process is not full warranty claims automation.
Wow.
And I think at the end of the day, that's the name of the game, because we have to get past and we have to improve on all of these key areas. Well, what key areas? Well, these four essentially.
Okay.
Warranty processing automation increases on average your warranty revenue by 12.4%.
Does it really? Wow.
It does. And that means to the typical dealer, Ted, over $141,000 in additional dealer revenue. Now we're talking real money, right? How do you improve the profitability? You reduce your cost by more than 50%. Your claims are processed within 24 hours, which improves your cash flow. And going back to this really key area, which I think is going to be super, super important through the next couple of years, is compliance. So to improve your OEM scores, you got to get that first time submission success, time to submit, and time to close. You got to be well within those OEM dashboards, get that green status.
Yes. Yeah. Wow.
So,
Jim, a lot to digest here today. Can you go back to that last slide for just a moment? I am increasing the warranty revenue by 12.4%. Jim, there's some great stats there, and reducing the cost by more than half. Wow.
Yeah, actually, in 2022, Ted, across all of our brands, we saw more than a 24% increase, but we factored out, because, you know, people are doing warranty claims rate reimbursement increases.
Okay, sure.
So we did the calculations there, and what we're picking up is the actual 12.4%. Dealers are seeing a little bit more, but some of that comes from the rate reimbursements that we're doing now in all 50 states. But yeah, any way you come at it, you know, what's not to like? I mean, how do you improve profitability, right? Raise the top line, reduce your expenses.
And as warranty continuing to grow as a percentage of fixed ops revenue income, it gets even more timely as we move on. And especially as you showed us with the internal staff diminishing at the dealership over the next few years, as it has been doing the last 5 or 6 or 7 years as well. Powerful stuff.
I think it's inevitable. I mean, in particular, look, nobody knows exactly how many electric vehicles we're going to sell. But regardless of how many we sell, we know that it's going to impact CP, right? Whether it's going to be a wave that builds over time, or as you see tax credits come and they move more and become more affordable. I mean, there's 150 of them set to hit over the next couple of years, right? Yeah. So, you know, do I think that we reach, 30% penetration in 23 or 24? No. But I think that we're going to get pretty close to it by the end of 24. And any angle you come at it, it's going to challenge CP sales. Not even considering that we're in a challenging economic environment and rising interest rates.
I see scrolling at the bottom of the screen, Jim, something that you're doing right now, and it is this free warranty analysis. Talk to us a little bit about that, because I think a lot of folks may want to take us up on that.
Yeah. Thank you for asking. So essentially what we do is we get with you on the phone. There's no in person, and there's a series of questions that we ask about what your current warranty revenue is, how many, W-2 employees or consultants do you have doing it, round numbers, what are the costs there? And we just give you an analysis as to whether or not, your gross profit is pretty good, or if there is an area for improvement there.
I love it. Jim, you continue to disrupt and lead the way in the industry. Congratulations. I know there are hundreds of dealers now on the WarrCloud platform. I know that's going to continue to grow, and this has got to be exciting for you at this time.
Oh, thanks, Ted. It's, I've been working with dealers primarily in service for over 30 years. And WarrCloud is the only company doing warranty claims processing automation. So we're the pioneer. And that's a fun place to be. Look, it's not without its challenges, because whenever you do something that no one has done before, you gotta figure some things out along the way. That's probably the main reason why it took us so long to develop the tech, but we did. And now more and more dealers are showing a great interest. So it's a fun spot to be in.
Jim Roche, everybody. He is the founder and the executive chairman, CEO, all the titles at WarrCloud. Visit WarrCloud.com. You'll get a free warranty analysis from Jim Roche and his team. Jim, your email is scrolling there, jim.roche@WarrCloud.com. Jim is a great friend of the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I know I refer friends and family to him as well. So if you want to take him up on the automation, this is a great time to do it. You can see everything is going in the direction of what Jim is telling us. So, Jim, on behalf of the Fixed Ops Roundtable community, thank you for all that you do.
Ted, thank you for having me, and thank you for all you do, not just for the industry, but in terms of, charitable activities, being a voice for Fixed Ops. You're the man.
No, love it, Jim. And Jim, thank you for the great support. Everybody, you want to reach out to Jim Roche at WarrCloud. His email is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Find out about WarrCloud, what they can do for your dealership in automating your warranty processing. Jim Roche, everybody, from WarrCloud, here with us, back at the 80s at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Have a good summer, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted Ings, and welcome everyone to WarrCloud Jeopardy, where the objective is, as always, is to optimize your profit. Please welcome Corey Roberts and Scott Bertelman. Our board today, Category 1, Mission Impossible, Numbers Don't Lie, Man versus Machine, and WIFM, What's in it for me? Let's go to the board. Corey.
Jim, I'll take Mission Impossible for 100.
Mission Impossible for 100. Previously thought impossible, it is the only company that processes warranty claims in mere seconds.
Jim, who is WarrCloud?
That's correct. Scott.
Jim, I'll take Numbers Don't Lie for 200.
Dealerships use this solution to reduce warranty expenses by over 50% while simultaneously growing revenue 12.4%.
Who is WarrCloud?
Exactly.
I'll take Man versus Machine for 300.
The only company that provides a solution using automated machine learning, not humans, to capture allowances, fees, additional tenths of labor, and automatically submit for payments within 24 hours.
Who is WarrCloud?
Exactly right. And finally,
WIFM for 400, Jim.
The only automated warranty solution that doesn't get sick, take vacations, or quit.
Who is WarrCloud?
Exactly right again. The answer every time is WarrCloud. And for those of you watching, if you'd like to explore ways to improve your profitability by automating your warranty claims processing, scan the code on your screen or visit us at WarrCloud.com for a free warranty analysis today. Thank you.
Don't have enough tokens for the arcade? Look no further than DealerPay's Modern Payment Acceptance Panel.
Welcome back to the 80s at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. It is a great pleasure to welcome back to the conference Julie Douglas, who's the president and sales lady extraordinaire at DealerPay, a great provider for the Fixed Ops Roundtable. She's got with her a team of hers, as well as the team from the Regal Automotive Group in Lakeland, Florida. Julie, before I have you get things started, I'll quickly introduce Cathy Felice, who is the controller there at Regal Lakeland. Also, we've got Sal Campisi, who is the dealer principal, and we've also got Shannon, Vice President of Operations at DealerPay. Everybody, welcome back to the event.
Thanks, Ted.
Thank you.
All right. So, Julie, it's a great opportunity. I've actually wanted to have Regal Lakeland on this show for a number of months and years. So, Julie, give us some backstory, if you will, on some of the history here.
Sure. So, obviously DealerPay, modern payments, dealer specific, we've really taken a lot of initiative from your show as well, Ted, to, provide the best solutions for dealers. I think it was from your show that we caught the attention of Sal and Cathy about DealerPay, and they were looking for a new payments provider, and they were looking for something dealer specific. So we were very, very happy they reached out.
So Sal, I have to tell you, when I see the enrollments come in for the Fixed Ops Roundtable and I see Regal Lakeland, I don't just see one, I see a lot of people from your store. So we're very honored to have you and appreciate, Sal, all that you do for the industry as well.
Thank you. Thank you for even starting this years ago, that our team has really bought into everything you guys offer.
Well, we love having you. And give us, again, from your perspective, Sal, and then I'll ask Cathy, why did you start looking for a new payments provider? What was the story there?
So we have 5 franchises and 2 used car outlets. And many times during the week, I would visit Cathy and was very frustrated on the deals coming in and finding deposits and matching deposits with the credit card machines. And I think we have a total of about 9 machines, and it took them hours. So it just so happens I was on your show watching Julie and your discussion with her, and I was like, I'm going to call her because there is just frustration in my accounting office trying to find the money. So we did. We reached out to Julie, and I think I had a email back within 5 minutes, and it was right after your show. So that's how attentive she was to just us inquiring.
I love it. And Sal, for the audience, what franchises do you have there at Regal?
We have Honda, Acura, and GMC at one location, and then we have Kia and Chevrolet, and then we have our 2 used car outlet stores. Everything, luckily, is all in Lakeland.
All right. I love it. And Cathy, give us your perspective. You met with Sal, and I'm sure this is something that's been a discussion for a little while.
Yes, we were obviously, as he had said, tearing our hair out trying to match up the credit card payments with who, the only thing we would have would be the last 4 digits and what computer or terminal the card came from. If it came after hours, we would have no idea. So we were looking for to implement a more efficient procedure for a collection process for our credit card payments.
Okay, I love it. Thank you, Cathy, and thank you, Sal. Cathy, if you don't mind, just a little bit deeper on that as well. When did you have the Dealer Pay team come in, and how long has it been now that you've been on this?
So they came in early February,
Okay.
and so we've been on for a few months now. And they came in, they set us up. The dealer integration with our DMS is a beautiful thing. I cannot tell you how awesome that is, so that no matter who takes the payment, we know who, what, where, when, who took the payment, where it goes. We can do manual payments. We can email or text the receipts to the customers. I have not ever seen a credit card processing system like this, and we are so happy that we've gone with Dealer Pay. And like I said, that DMS integration is very awesome.
So, Julie, take us through it from your perspective. Sal and Cathy reached out. What did you see there as the concerns that would be solved when you went into Regal?
Sure. So when we start a process like this, and obviously when Sal and Cathy reached out to me, we start with a little discovery. What are you using now? What are some of the challenges that you're having? And then we move on to pricing, right? So I usually request a copy of their last month's statement so I can see, how we would compare on price. And then lastly, we would set up a demo, whether it's just, and I believe with these guys, it was just the 2 of them. But sometimes we get other, department managers involved. Because of the DMS integration, there was a lot of synergies and I believe problems that we were solving, like Cathy had mentioned, with, tying transactions back to the DMS and kind of knowing who did what, when, and where. But was also pretty refreshing about the whole situation in comparison to their previous processor, there was a pretty large cost savings involved. So, we're really happy to do that too. It's great to be able to solve problems and, improve technologies and efficiencies and all those great things. But it's also really great to say, hey, by the way, I'm going to save you quite a bit. So that was a great find for us. So,
Cathy, I know you deal with a lot of folks. If I can ask you, and then I'll ask Sal, Cathy, did you realize that Julie was in the retail automotive business and knew this, pretty well?
And not at the time, I didn't, but after we started learning a little bit more about dealer pay, it did come to our attention that she was in the automotive. So she knows our troubles and our problems and our challenges.
Sal?
I will tell you, again, only as a dealer perspective, because Cathy does all the hard work. She is more than a comptroller. She helps to run all the stores. But this transition was smooth. I mean, we switched from DMSs about 5 years ago. She handled that. It was smooth. Usually you see a decline in work and production. We had an increase. So Cathy knows how to organize things, but also Julie's team made it very simple. We had to switch all our machines, talking IP addresses. Some were on Wi-Fi. We had to do a lot of things, integrated with our IT department. Everything worked smoothly. And having the 9 different locations, sometimes that doesn't work well. But with Julie's team and Cathy, I'll tell you, they're happy. And not only that, I think, and Julie, you can add to this, everybody has to have a log on. So if you're touching that machine, I believe everybody has to have a log on. So there is no options of I didn't take that in, or I took it in, but someone else received it. It's all very simple and organized.
Julie, talk to us about that. A lot of locations here.
Sure. So there's a couple of reasons that is very important. Like we want to know who's doing the transaction so we can tie it back not only to the user, but that department. So that's going to reflect on various aspects of our reporting detail, which is key in reconciliation. The other reason that is important is it's checking your box for your FTC safeguards, because we have what we call multi-factor authentication going on. So we're making sure that the users who are logging into our payment system are in fact the users that you have, approved to use us at your dealership. So there's a reason that we do those things, not only to, make things more efficient and, reporting and all those great things, but also to protect your dealership from any kind of fraud.
Yep. So Shannon, I've seen a lot of posts on social media of you and the team going in and doing these installations around the country. Shannon, give us a high level view of this installation and what was involved.
Of this installation specifically, we had reached out to Cathy beforehand just to see if there's any, any special or customized things that she wants. We can customize every installation for each dealer, whatever works for them. Once we did arrive there, the office staff was so great. They were so helpful. And we always just go in and start our point, see where they want us to start. And we just go in, we make sure all of the terminals are working correctly, and we train person and make sure that everybody's happy and everyone's trained. At the end, we follow up with the office manager. We have a policy of 3 times 3. We follow up 3 hours after the install, 3 days after the install, and 3 weeks. We just like to verify. And then every once in a while, I'll drop an email or a phone call just to make sure everything's working the way it should be. And we just like to leave those lines of communication open so that the dealer knows that they can always reach out to her.
And Julie, I recall you telling me that some of the folks on your team, like Shannon, have been controllers and office managers in the dealership, so they understand the retail business.
Yes, that is correct. So Shannon used to be a controller at a multi-location dealer group in the Midwest, and she wanted to stay in the dealer space, but was looking for a new adventure. And I was lucky enough to get her in the right time. And she's been a valuable asset, because as much as I know about payments and even dealerships with having almost 24 years experience, I've never actually worked at a dealership, right? I've dealt with a lot of them, from phone calls at 9 o'clock at night from finance managers to office managers scrambling like Cathy, not being able to find transactions. But the perspective of Shannon being able to say, hey, this is really what it looks like, especially dealing with DMS integrations and the whole accounting side of it. it's really allowed us to not only fine tune some of the specifics in our software, but really advance on them to cater to the office. No offense, Sal, we know it's very important that, both sales and fixed ops are on point. But I've also learned that if I can make that office manager controller happy, chances are I'm doing a good job.
We're speaking today to the team from Dealer Pay, Julie Douglas and her team, as well as Sal Campisi, who is the dealer principal at the Regal Automotive Group in Lakeland, Florida, that recently had Dealer Pay installed in their many locations at their retail stores. Sal, I can tell you that when I met Julie a little over a year ago, she promised me that she would help the communication between controllers and fixed ops directors and make sure that would go a whole lot smoother. So Sal, from folks watching here today, would you recommend Dealer Pay to others, and any other insights you can share as well?
Absolutely. We try to be on the forefront of the technology in the car business, and this was a huge part. We have not implemented yet, but most of our service departments are on tablets, and our next step is to be able to send the customers a link so they can pay their service bill through Dealer Pay, and they're going to help us set that up. We have not implemented it yet, but I'm excited about that because everybody wants to be in and out. Everybody has no time. And so if we can get that implemented in the next couple of months, I think that'll help with our CSI scores with service. So it speeds everything up. And to the dealers out there and then the comptrollers listening, listen, I would definitely spend a little time talking to Julie and her team. I did. And I without a doubt, just how professional, just the start of the conversation was. It was awesome. And it's still awesome. Like the 3, 3, and 3. I love it, Shannon. That was awesome about the follow-up. Everything's there. And that's why we said, look, we'd love to go on air today and speak with you guys about Julie and her team.
Julie, I'll give you the last word to bring it home.
Sure. I mean, I greatly appreciate the business. I never take any new dealer relationship for granted. Every one of them is extremely important to me. As we're growing, it's just making us more in tune to the specific needs that you guys have. I read an article yesterday that, customer convenience is almost more important than price. And I just want to make sure that you guys have all the tools to be as successful as you can be. Regarding your comment about using tablets, our mobile product is out there. We're going to continue to put some new development behind that with some imaging, really just to make the process fast and easy, but also make the experience for your customer great, because it does have a big impact on CSI. If the payment process is not savvy, it's not convenient, or the customer doesn't feel as if maybe it's even secure, it could have an impact on what that might look like. So either way, I'm very happy to be working with you guys, and we're going to stay in tune and make sure you're happy long term.
All right, Julie. Well, until you came on the scene here at the Fixed Ops Roundtable a little over a year ago, we had no discussions on dealer-specific payments and point of sale. So, Julie, I appreciate you elevating the conversation. I want to thank Cathy, Felice of Regal Lakeland, Shannon from Dealer Pay, Sal Campisi, dealer principal at Regal as well. Julie, if our Fixed Ops audience wants to grow that, join that growing list of dealers at the Roundtable who are involved with Dealer Pay, what do they do? What's the next step to reach out to you and your team?
Well, I say just call Julie. I could say just call Sal, but it's just call Julie.
Sal, they might call you. I think they will.
You can call me 314-578-3142. Text me, email me. I'll be sure to be in touch right back with you very quickly.
Yep. Everybody here is on LinkedIn and available on social media. So I appreciate all of you, especially the folks at Regal, for being here with us today. So, and Sal and Cathy, thank you for the great support from your organization.
Thank you.
Over the
It's our pleasure.
many events. So
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Julie Douglas and the team from Dealer Pay and here with Regal Lakeland, here back at the 80s at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Julie Douglas, President of Dealer Pay. For more than 20 years, we've been working exclusively with dealers to process electronic transactions. We've developed a dealer-specific payments and point-of-sale solution designed to help dealers be more profitable, productive, and successful. The reason our solutions have been proven effective is that we understand the dynamics of accepting payments in each department and can offer customized solutions that guarantees to exceed your expectations. Our point-of-sale solutions provide customers with multiple ways to pay. With a strong emphasis on both security and modern technology, we cover all aspects of the purchase and the last experience your customer has in the dealership. It's important to us that your customers are satisfied and your dealership is properly funded for every sales transaction. We are advocates for dealers and recommended in the industry. Let us help you get set up with a seamless transition. Contact me directly. Julie Douglas, Dealer Pay. Fast, organized, secure.
Want to dance with somebody? Join us back in the 80s with Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Hope you enjoyed the warm-up, because we're just getting started. Grab your leg warmers and join me as I interview Edna Pham of Cavender Auto Group. Cara Delaine here at the Fixed Ops Roundtable, here with Edna Pham at Cavender Auto Group. Edna, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I am so excited to talk with you today because we've never met, and I want to know everything about you and your story of how you got into being a technician, why you're here at Cavender. So first off, what do you do here at Cavender Auto Group?
I'm an automotive technician.
All right, at which location?
At the Cavender North. GMC North.
Cavender Buick GMC North, okay. And how long have you worked here?
About a year. A little over a year, yes.
Okay, about a year. So did you work at a different dealership prior to this?
For 5 years.
5 years. So in total, you've been working as a technician for about 6 years?
Right.
Do you love it?
I mean, I'm still doing it after this long.
Right. Okay, so you have 6 years of being a technician, and what kind of brought you to want to work in the automotive industry and specifically want to work back there in the shop?
Well, it actually started in high school. We had an automotive program, so
wow.
I got a little bit of it from that, and then I went to college and graduated with an automotive technology degree.
Oh, wow. From what university?
Texas State Technical College.
Okay,
so
awesome.
Technical college.
That's amazing. And so growing up, you had in the back of your mind that you wanted to be a technician?
Not always, no. I just thought cars were always cool. Hear cars coming down the street all the time, and you're just like, whoa, what is that, you know?
So your family wasn't into working on cars or anything like that?
Absolutely not.
It was just your own interest.
Right.
One day you thought, you know what? I could work on cars and make a living. Right. Wow, that's very interesting. And so what age do you think you were when you decided that you wanted to chase this kind of career?
About, how old? Probably 17.
17?
18, yeah.
Wow. And would you change anything at all since you've been in the automotive industry?
Yes, actually. Like starting out, I would do more training.
Do more training as a beginner?
More attentive in like my classes in college and stuff like that.
Yeah. You get to not paying attention and kind of get lax. And now looking back, you wish you would have been really focused in.
Right. Yeah. Because I wasn't sure. Of course, you're college. You think you know what you're doing and you're not too sure what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah.
And then make it this far and you're just like, oh, could have made more use of my time back then.
Yeah. That's some really great advice, honestly, that I feel like a lot of young people that might be watching the show with us could really use, because I know for me, I was kind of in the same boat. It's easy to get distracted when you're in college or even in high school and kind of get relaxed and, oh, it'll work out or I'll pass. And now looking back, I agree with you. There's some things that I wish I would have focused more on too. So you found your passion early on in life, and at any moment headed towards this career, or once you got to this point in your career, did you ever feel that there would be any sort of setback because you were a female?
Here and there, but then I think about it, it's like, there's always a way around it, you know?
There's always a way around it.
You know, what works for you, you know?
Yeah. So how many women were in those college classes with you versus men?
There's probably one other female at any given time. And I didn't really count. It was probably a class of at least 20.
So you're thinking maybe 2 females in a class of 20 people?
Correct.
Wow. Was that intimidating for you?
No, not really. It's just you already know what they're going to expect of a female, you know?
Yeah.
So you just try to work around that.
Yeah. And so that's kind of carried on into your career now, because how many females work in the shop here with you?
Just one other.
One other.
Yeah.
And you have how many technicians total, do you know?
I don't know. I've forgotten already. I've counted before, but
okay.
I've forgotten.
So a large quantity. I just saw your guys' shop and maybe 30 technicians back there that I could visually see, and only 2 women. Is that a weird feeling to you?
No, not anymore. No.
You said not anymore.
Yeah, because before it's just like, okay, well, I don't know. I don't see a lot of females. Can I do this? You know, maybe it's possible, maybe it's not.
Yeah.
You know.
Do you have a competitive nature? Because for me, and I know I've talked to some other women that work in the automotive industry, and because there are so few women, that a person like me takes it as a challenge almost of, you know, I'm going to beat the odds here. Is that kind of how you're feeling?
Basically.
Okay, cool. And so take me through a day in your life here at Cavender Auto Group. What does that look like?
You just come in, you do your diagnosis, you do your work, you do your repairs, speak to customers as needed, to explain what's going on with the vehicle, you know. And it's basically it, you know.
Yeah. And how much do you love being a technician? Is there, at any moment, do you think you would change careers?
Sometimes, from time to time, yes. But, I mean, it's a little difficult because, I mean, females, you know, do you want to have a family? And what if you get pregnant or something? You can't be in the shop, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's always that.
And is that a worry that kind of sits in the back of your mind if you are a young woman that wants to get married and wants to start a family, how that's going to affect your career?
It's a little bit of a worry, but not really. There's always a way around. You know?
And how do you think you would go about that if say, you know, tomorrow you decided I want to start a family and you want to start having babies? How would you approach that situation?
There's other positions that I would definitely stay in the field, you know.
Okay.
I wouldn't necessarily have to be a technician, but definitely probably stay in the field where I know, you know, whether it's parts or upfront service advisor or maybe in the warranty department, you know.
Okay.
But there's other positions.
That's encouraging to hear that you would stay within fixed ops, hopefully at this dealership, but just move around positions. Do you think that the leaders in this organization and maybe your managers would help make that transition easy for you?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I'm not too sure. Maybe I'm too valuable in the bag, but if it were, you know, something that you can't avoid, then definitely they would work with it.
I understand that. I could see them having you turn wrenches back there for a while, but at a certain point, if you were starting a family, it might be safer for you to work maybe up front. And so to talk a little bit about the leadership here at this dealership at Cavender, do you have anything to say about your managers or the leadership and how it affects you day to day?
Well, I don't really have any issues.
No issues?
Yeah, so I would say it's fine.
They're encouraging to you guys back there?
Yes.
And from what I saw, your shop is amazing. You have a great facility back there. Right. So it creates a great work environment. And how does the other technicians back there work alongside you and the other female technician?
After working with them for a while, they see what we're capable of, what we need to work on. They work with us. We have team leads, we have a system. So there's always,
Do you ever get competitive, like girls against guys, like we're better than you guys?
No. No.
You work as one big team back there?
Yeah.
Wow, that's great. And so I have to ask you, Edna, if there's any advice that you could tell a young female that is considering starting a career in automotive, what would you tell her?
I would say whatever you do decide to do, even if it's just a hobby, stick to it. Always give your 100%,
Is it a great career path for a young woman? Would you encourage other people to do this?
Definitely, yes. Because, you can't always rely on somebody else, You got to rely on yourself.
Absolutely. So what do you think your life will look like in, say, 10 years from now? Do you think that you'll still be back there in the shop working as a technician?
I'm not too sure.
Do you have any big aspirations? You're just happy with where you're at right now?
Yes, basically.
So you wouldn't change anything?
Probably advance a little bit differently,
Advance?
Always progress, just never stop progressing.
Absolutely.
But other than that, I would hope I'd be wrenching still,
Yeah. Wow. You have an amazing story, and it's encouraging to so many people watching this video interview with you, and hopefully so many young people that want to get into this type of career and see a pathway that women like you have paved for them. So I thank you for that, Edna, and thank you for taking the time with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable, and hopefully we get to see more of you and some of the other female techs back there at Cavender Auto Group. So thank you so much, and we appreciate it. On behalf of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, Edna, Pham at Cavender Auto Group. Take a moment now to pause your tapes and pull out your phones to scan the QR code on your screen to vote for the Best Practice Awards that will be announced at the end of the event. Remember, every vote counts, so make sure to vote for the 5 speakers or panelists whom you think are the best and most rad speakers on the Fixed Ops Roundtable. And don't forget, you can only vote once. Bueller, don't have customers skipping class on your services? Join us on our Vanguard Dealer Services panel and learn how to create customer service that brings in EVs and retention.
Welcome back to the 80s at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. We have the Vanguard Dealer Services panel. Today's topic is customer service that brings in EVs and retention. I'd like to introduce the all-star panel. They are Mickey Quinn from Vanguard Dealer Services, Tully Williams from the Nilo Group, Ed Roberts from Bozard Ford Lincoln, and Kristin Jones from Vanguard Dealer Services. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. You were a fan favorite the last time around, and so I want to start the questions off. Tully, let's start off in California over by you. How can dealerships adapt their service departments to accommodate the unique maintenance and repair needs of EVs so that you ensure the customers are satisfied?
You know, the biggest thing with EVs is, as we're in the repeat and referral business, EVs is a challenge for us because there is less maintained. So the crucialness of making sure a customer understands that they must bring the car back to the dealer. Remember, other stores practice on the car. The manufacturer can only say we're certified and trained to work on that car. Ensuring them to realize that tire rotations are crucial. Air cabin filters, wiper blades, and of course, software updates. As technology grows, we have updates constantly. So ensuring them to know that you want a factory train, look at it at least once a year, set the first service appointment during it. The key issue is people think electric cars, I buy it and then I drive it for 3 years, I turn it back in. Unfortunately, that is not the case. There are some minor things we must do on a yearly basis. It's called education the customer. Make sure everybody in the driveway, make sure everybody knows how important it is to see that car on a yearly basis.
Tully, what about percentage-wise there in California? What are you seeing right now with EVs?
We sell between 25 and 30% of our cars are EVs, as we are the largest ID4 dealer in the United States. Electric cars are a fad. As we know, we're in California and Sacramento. We see a lot of those electric cars, and their demand is high. People love them. The biggest challenge we have today, charging.
Ooh, you know what? We're going to talk about that today. Ed, coming over to you. What are you seeing there at Bozard?
Well, I'm going to touch on a few things that Tully did as well, because charging is a big issue, and we think that we got to have all these chargers all over the place. Now, we got to have chargers that's available to deliver a vehicle. That's the superchargers. But the rest of the chargers, it's a piece of shop tool. It's not a big deal, but you need to have enough of them. But why we want to bring them back to the service department, how we can maintain them, is they're new products. And with new products, there's updates. It's just like when we get a new phone. There's updates that come over the ear. Those updates are available to us long before they're available outside. And the outside has no training on these vehicles yet. And they won't chase it if we don't give them the demand. If we can retain them on our end, then they won't have the demand to go chase getting certified to work on these things. So it's up to us to really prepare ourselves going forward with that.
Wow, interesting. Kristin, what are you seeing there in the Pacific Northwest with Vanguard?
Yeah, I'm in Seattle, so it's obviously a huge EV market. And I think from a service standpoint, we have to think outside the box. I don't want to share other people's secrets, but I heard yesterday about a service department that is trying to help people. There's so much education that is needed when someone gets it. And one of the biggest things is both Tully and Ed have said is the charging stations are an issue. And I know in our area, you can get a charging station, but finding someone to install it and get the permits and do everything is almost impossible. So what if our service departments start offering, setups and doing installs and getting the permits and thinking outside the box of how can we make this a customer for life with, repeat referral, as Tully always says. And sometimes that starts from the get-go of how do we take care of this customer from the get-go, train them, educate them so that they want to come back, because it is a totally different way of selling it. And in Seattle or California or any of these metro markets, it is the wave of the future, and we have to get on board with it.
Mickey, you're nationwide at Vanguard. What are you seeing?
Well, I think that service department's adaptation to the EV begins in the business office. As I always believe that everything happens in service and parts comes out of the business office. If it's set up right with processes where the consumer has a pleasurable ownership experience in their EV car, They need to be educated. They're not very familiar with these cars. So when they come to these service departments, they need to be treated with empathy and understanding and not such a heavy hand. I think after COVID, I think all the public want to be dealt with in a more civil manner. Certainly the EV customers that we see here on the East Coast are a different type of customer. And I think those service departments certainly have to adapt to a greener environment when those customers come in and they feel that dealership is accepting of their thoughts of what the environment should be. So a little bit of both. Again, you have to offer processes and services in your business office that'll give the customer a pleasurable experience in the service department. And I also think that service departments are going to have to become more robust at selling products and services to the consumer who may not have bought them in the business office at the time of sale. So there's a lot of change to come. But again, I've always said it, our clients are the most resilient entrepreneurs on this planet. So whatever they throw at them, they'll be ready for it. So we're there to assist in whatever needs they have.
Mickey, can I follow up with you on that? Because I thought that was a great point you made. Historically, these products have been sold out of the F&I office. And I agree with what you're saying right now is that there's more opportunity in service to be able to follow up and show the customer what it is that they need and the different services and products. Any thoughts on that? And, perhaps
Sure.
what we see coming?
Well, I'll give you one example. I think that particular consumer at the moment that's buying that EV car is very concerned about how that car looks over the course of ownership. And I think that these service departments need to become more adaptive to adding protective coatings to the consumers who may not have bought them at the time of sale. We use a company out of Texas called Caltex, who provide us with a product that can be applied within 7 minutes on the car. Customer comes in for an oil change. We can literally have that car run through the car wash, apply a product and provide them with 5 years of additional coverage on the exterior and interior of the cars. And I will tell you that if service departments do a little bit of training with those people, customers will buy that product. I've been in the business office for almost 30 years, 32 years actually. I've been involved in business, the old F&I offices, as we used to call them. Now we call them a business office. And over the last 5 or 6 years, I've seen these protective coatings really take off. The consumer now sees that there's a value to them. There's a more value in their car when they bring it back and trade, and the interior of their car looks better during ownership. And I really think that can be sold in service departments or on the line, or when a customer comes in for an oil change or whatever. We couldn't have done it 10 or 15 years ago because it was an hour and a half application. Today we have that down to 15 minutes tops, and then we're giving the customer the car back. So things like that I think has to happen in the service department. That's just one example. I could give you 10.
Ed, that kind of dovetails into the next question. What are some of the key factors that influence the EV customer's decision to return to the dealer for service? I know Tully always speaks about the repeat and referral, but you're on the cutting edge on making sure those customers come back.
It's all about coaching, and we talked about some of that, but they don't know what these vehicles need, what they need yet. And we're not going to know what they need long-term, but we know what they need short-term. And we got to provide that path for them to come back to us to do it, because there's nobody else out there. Everybody is on the wait and see. Let's see what happens. Let's see if we need to put chargers in. Let's see if we need to do this. And like Tully said earlier, we got to get these guys on an annual service schedule to where we're looking at that vehicle every single year. And then we can determine what it's going to need more long-term. But it's not going to be a whole lot. These things aren't leaking oil all over the place. They're not coming in for needing an oil change and whatever else. But more so, we have to speak that these are the most technological pieces of equipment on the road, and they need to come to us because they are rolling computers with a body sitting on top of them. And we're the best ones that can take care of them.
And so, Ed, to Mickey's point, we're going to have to think out of the box, maybe with some new ideas and services and products, when these customers do come in, that we can provide, a full service for them.
Let me add to that, because you're exactly right. Customers buy an EV for a reason. One, they want to be green, whatever. All of them's got different reasons. They like the performance, they like whatever. We got to be prepared for them, not only to service their vehicle, but with loaners of their vehicle. They don't want to go from a EV to an ICE vehicle while they're in a loaner. We need to have EVs ready for them as well. And if there's new products that's coming out, and there's always new products coming out right now for EVs, we need to have those new products ready to roll out so we can show those off while we have them in loaners.
Tully, I hadn't thought about that. Customer comes in, gets a service loaner. They have an EV customer. That's where they want to be driving.
If you give an ICE car to an EV owner, there is a conversation that will be had, and it's usually not a pleasant one. And that is just part of the deal. So, and it's spot on, is that when someone brings an EV car in, we have to make sure that we have an EV car available, or we will explain to them the reasons why not. When you look at EV repairs and maintenance, is that a lot of times it's a huge deal, or it's just a minor deal. There's not like, we don't know what's wrong with your car yet, and it might be days. And a lot of times is that EVs are doing a great job. It's usually a software-based problem where a lot of times we can take care of things in 1 or 2 days based on the availability of the download, how long it takes. As you know, Volkswagen has a recall for something, it's 9-hour download. It's crazy. So to us, this is a great news. I love 9 hours, right? And so I think that you have to educate the customer on the importance of why a dealer is the best to work on the car. It starts where? With the sales department understanding why the service department is a great product to make sure that your car maintains. And most people buy leases, so when they return the car in, there is no expense back to them for anything that's happened to that car. Making sure they maintain it, make sure we see them at least 3 times for that lease, or that 3-year lease, to make sure they come back in and make sure the car is up to date and make sure it's maintained. It starts with sales, and then it strengthens in the driveway on that first visit.
Kristin, I love it. Your thoughts on those intervals, the customer returning, the EV customer, perhaps being able to have some additional services and products that we have offered in the business office, and now being able to offer that on the drive.
Yeah, I've taken a few notes because I have so many passions and thoughts on this. First of all, I think there's been a power dynamics switch where for so long we told the customer 3 months, 3,000 miles, or when your maintenance binder comes on or whatever. And we almost scared them to that they had to get the oil changed and they had to come back or their car was going to blow up. Well, now they're in control and we're begging them to come back to us. They don't have that same fear. So we have to make it quick. We have to make it accommodating. We have to make it efficient for the customer. We have to roll out the red carpet so that they want to come back because they don't have to come back. It's totally different than before. To Mickey's point, there are products that we can offer that customer so that they have a great experience. And what Tully said is most of them are on leases or 3 years. So their trade-in value is super, super important. If you've looked at the wheels of 90% of Teslas, they're ground out because Tully's laughing because every Tesla wheel, you can see where they've hit the curbs, right? So we have products and services for that so that they can get the most value when they come back and turn it in. So we need to take care of them from an education standpoint. We need to take care of them in the business office to make sure that they have those protective coatings, the Caltex that Mickey talked about, that they have the tire and wheel protection so they get the most value. And then the third phase of that is we're taking in these awesome trades. Stores that we're working with that have never sold an EV are selling them now. So we need to have products and services that we can offer to that person who's buying the 3, 4, 5, 6 year EV and what they want. So it's kind of threefold on how do we educate the new customers so they come back to service? How do we give them the most value so they get the trade-in value? Show them those, the newest and latest when we give them that rental car when their car's in service. And then let's take care of that car and that next customer, because that next customer is a totally different customer buying the used EV than the one buying the new. So it's really exciting and it's very much changing our business. And we all need to be on the forefront of those changes.
Good points. Great points. Mickey, these EV customers are not going to go for service to the Jiffy Lube or the Midas muffler. Mickey, they're coming back to the dealership. This is probably a great opportunity for dealers because of the factor that they have an EV.
Not only for dealers, but for business managers all over the country, because I think these particular consumers, certainly for the next 5 or 10 years, are going to want to buy packages in the business office that cover them completely from cradle to grave, right? I mean, the battery's a big concern. It's a big concern for warranty administrators. But at the end of the day, when the first car dealer decided to offer a warranty beyond the manufacturer's warranty was the moment the automobile business became aware that if we give that extension, that consumer is going to come back to our facility 80% of the time. And again, I go back to it. being an old school F&I guy and transitioned to being a business manager, now president of Vanguard's agency business, the service contract and the F&I department or the business office remains the driving seat in customer retention to a car dealership. Products and services, ease of ownership, empathy when they come back to the dealerships. You will sell them a lot of products, you will sell them a lot of service, and you will sell them more cars. No ifs and ands or buts about it. So for me, it always will begin in the business office with what we're giving the consumer to use during the course of ownership. These cars that we're selling, these EV cars, are not your typical $299 a month. These cars are going for 6 years and 7-year financing now, right? We know for a fact that the battery is going to get at some point to 70% usage. So there is some concerns and worries from the consumer coming in. So strong packages that make it a pleasurable owner experience, and understanding that the consumer is as in the wilderness with EV cars as we really are, and we're in the business, right?
Yeah, great points. Kristin, to the point you made earlier, you talked about the tires on the Tesla. There probably are some lessons that traditional dealers can learn from successful EV dealerships in providing outstanding customer service. Any thoughts on that, Kristin?
I think that the EV customer is so educated today that we need, sometimes they're teaching us, but I think that what we can learn from traditional EV models into our normal dealerships is we have to be on the forefront, and we have to educate ourselves so that we don't look silly compared to them. I was at my in-laws' house the other day, and my mother-in-law is 75 years old and said, I think for my next car, I might get in, help the environment and get an EV. This is not your traditional EV customer. She doesn't know about it. She's learning about it, but she thinks it's kind of cool and hip, and she's been driving cars for 60 years. And so she thinks this might be kind of fun and different. We are parlaying into a totally new type of customer, and we need to be educated so that we can walk them through the process. We need to make it easy, and we need to make it fun for the customer. This is a different experience, and we need to make sure they enjoy it and feel like the red carpet is rolled out for them.
Tully, your thoughts?
Yes, I mean the issue with EV customers today is that they're very educated. They're usually a certain segment, but as they're becoming more fun to drive an EV, the issue is the education of that customer and why they need to come back to a car dealership for repair. You think about Tesla. Tesla's great thing is that they can fix software over the air. Take it to a car dealership and their customer service goes to zero. I mean, the car will sit there and rot for a month. So I think that we have the ability to take on EV customers as Teslas because we are already set up to have that great customer experience in our service drives, make people happy, bring the reasons why we want to come to the store, talk to them about tire rotations, talk about tires. Tires wear out much faster on an EV. Talk about wiper blades and cabin filters, right? Talk about the importance of why we need to see you every year. That is the key issue of repeat referral business. EVs are not a sell a car and see you later alligator. That is not the case. We need to keep them in the driveway to keep their car maintained.
Mickey, it sounds like if a dealer has good preparation and maybe a good partner to help them in prepare, that could be a big part of the EV equation.
Well, again, it's a different kind of customer at the moment, but it's going to become more and more mainstream. And let's call a spade a spade. 25 years ago, 27 years ago, the offerings in the business office were probably not that great for the consumer. Some of it was, some of it wasn't. But today, there are tremendous programs and products that a consumer can buy for their EV cars that can protect them over the course of ownership. It'll make things easier for them when they come back. Listen, I agree with Tully and Ed. There are some issues with being able to give those customers rental cars at the moment because we just don't have them. I will tell you, any dealership that's selling EV cars that does not offer the installation of charging systems at the home are probably missing the boat. Again, Caltex out of Texas have just, one of the few administrators are now offering that program through the business office. It can be sold and installed immediately, right? So things like that are very important. But again, this is transportation. And this is whether EVs are going to be the wave of the future or not. The consumer is still involved in probably the second largest transaction they'll ever be involved in their life. They have concerns about whether that car is going to run, and they want to know when they show up or make a phone call to someone that the phone's going to be answered and they're going to be taken care of. And again, I'll go back to Tully and Ed and ask them, many years ago when I worked in a car dealership, Chrysler used to do these clinics once a month, and we would get 25 or 30 people to come in. Is any of that going on today in dealerships with these EV cars? Are we doing any clinics where possibly you're having someone coming in from the warranty space and explaining to the consumer, about the batteries and what we're seeing and what the breakages are? And when you look at it today, there's a whole industry building up all over the United States who are looking for batteries that have been taken out of cars. They've started to refurbish these batteries already. So this industry is taken off some way, somehow. And as people in the transportation business, an EV going to be part of the future of transportation, we definitely need to get our arms around it for sure.
How about it, Ed and Tully? I remember those service clinics, and now maybe they're more service and technology clinics. We had a panel on that at the last Fixed Ops Roundtable. Ed and Tully, any of that going on or need to be?
So yes, there needs to be. We shifted away from doing those technology clinics. That's what they grew into when COVID hit, and we haven't got back to that. For us, we send a lot of people to a lot of customers' house. We do a lot of remote stuff, so we do that. But it's another opportunity to put somebody in them. The way to sell an EV is to put somebody's butt in an EV. And I want to give a quick story on that. And that's where the elements of the loaner stuff came in. I had a customer come in last week, wanted to know if he could order a 24 Mustang yet. Order banks aren't open yet, but it's the last ICE Mustang. I said, have you driven one of those yet? Oh, no, that's not a real Mustang. I asked him if he'd driven a Mach-E yet. That's not a real Mustang. But I convinced him to take it for a drive. He went home, thought about it, came back the next day and bought it. Would have never bought it the day before. Never. Wouldn't even considered it. It's not a Mustang. All you got to do is drive it. So put some of these vehicles in your loaner fleet. When you do that, if you don't put somebody that brought an EV in it and somebody brings an ICE and you get them a chance to put it, you're going to sell it. And then have the products that keep them coming back to your store. And Mickey hit the nail on the head. We have to offer in-home infrastructure because that's the most important element. Customers are always going to come home, so they can always get that charge. It's the out and about stuff where they got to make sure that they can get a charge here or there or whatever, but we have to aid them with to be able to own those vehicles, and at home infrastructure does that.
Tully?
Yeah, we don't have the clinics anymore either, as Ed said. I think a lot of it is one-on-one technology. And what we found is that those, especially with COVID came in, is that people don't want to come in the afternoon to a car dealership. So we've kind of stayed away from those, and as we see that option come up, of course, we'll do that. But more of that one-on-one time, and also the service advisor kind of taking over that section. With Cars Advanced today, who's best at that? The service advisor. I think Porsche and our brands is probably the best educated. Our service advisors are probably more trained on the car than the salesperson, and that's mandated by Porsche. And I have to give them a huge thumbs up. They go away for a full week down, they get to test drive the car, which is fun, but they get to learn, because who do they come to when the car doesn't know how to do this? It's the service advisor first. And a lot of times service advisors, I don't know what that button does. Let's open up the owner's manual. That's not what a customer wants to hear. So having education on your service advisors, why? I'm going to say it again, because we're in the repeat and revolt business. If the service advisor knows the car, why would they go anywhere else?
Ed, I want to jump ahead a little bit into menu of services. The business office has had a menu, very successful track record in offering menus to customers when it's done consistently. I know you and Tully do the same thing with maintenance, because maintenance, Tully always talks about, big part of the business, huge part, and that's what we want to offer to our customers. Ed, what are your thoughts on menus of services, perhaps menus of products? You've talked about it in the recent past about bundling things and perhaps maybe having some of these other products as part of that menu in terms of a presentation to the EV customer.
We've created menus for ICE vehicles for decades. And anytime there's a new vehicle buyer, they want to maintain that vehicle. It's the second owner and the third owner that we really got to educate and make sure that they do the things they need to do to it. But nobody knows, our consumers don't know what they need to do to EVs. And that needs to be treated that way. We need to have a menu for them and break it out for them so they know that we need to see that vehicle. They know that we need to do updates on it. They know that we need to replace filters and wiper blades, because the only time you recognize it needs wiper blades is when you turn them on when it's raining.
Mm-hmm.
You don't remember it when you're at the service. So those are things that we can do in an annual service. And when we show them those things, they're going to embrace it. But if you don't show them, that's when you don't see them. So you have to prepare for them. So yes, we do need EV ownership menus.
Kristin, let me come over to you. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think education is so important. And I think that we at the dealership level all have to be on the same page, because the sales person needs to be speaking the same language that the service person does. And so often we sell a product in the business office and then the service manager has no idea what it is. So it's education across the board. So like Tully said, when they say, I don't know how this works, let me open the owner's manual. Are we educating our salespeople on the new EV models, or the service? And I think it's great when you get a new model that comes in, and if it's Porsche or Audi or whoever comes in and they do the ride and regs and they teach you all about the cars. We should be doing that at a dealership level so that when the new Mach-E comes in, everyone at the store knows how it works. So when the secretary or whoever answers the phone, they can tell you, oh yeah, I just drove it yesterday. It's fantastic. So that the customers understand that we're all on the same page. And I think so often service and sales work totally different hours and they're kind of siloed. But bringing them together on those smaller things makes a huge difference.
This is a great panel. I'm taking a lot of notes, really on topic here. Last question for today. I'm going to go around the horn.
Excuse me, Ted.
Yes.
I just want to give one thought to Tully and Ed, something we started doing here that's been successful for us. Maybe not have clinics, but have you given any thought to having your technicians do pre-recorded podcasts that your consumers can listen to? That could be on your website. You could send them to via email. Hey, you just bought your new EV. As a technician, let me tell you some of the things that you may want to look out for. We started doing it here for training for business managers, and it's been very, very successful for us. They pop it in the car, they listen to it between stops or whatever. It's worked very well. Sorry, Ed. Sorry, Ted.
Oh, no. You're good. We do a lot of video creation. We send links to our customers' email. We don't bombard them all at once. We just send them periodically through them. And you're exactly right. When you send that stuff to them, they really focus in on it. And then they come back with the questions that drew up. And that's the engagement that we need.
And Ed, dealership employees like the technicians are more comfortable now doing those videos because we've been doing the video MPI follow-ups with them. Tully, a great point, Mickey. Tully, your thoughts?
Our foremans have some of those now. We also use OEM ones too as well. Some of our OEMs have pre-recorded segments. They're usually like 1 minute to 5 minutes long. We run those on the televisions that are in our driveways and our showrooms. We also send those off to customers when they ask about it. So when a customer comes in and has a struggle with how do I, program my entertainment center, right? We can direct or send them an email on how to do that with a live person, which is, I think, a better way of doing it because they feel confident. Our foreman ones are probably the most honest ones at all because you have an honest person that's not a factory person. And people will see that because, what happens when you have a problem? Foreman's in the driveway, takes a road test with you, or a foreman comes up and tells you how to pair your phone, right? That to me is the most important piece.
I think the most important, sorry, Kristin, the most important piece there is that it's branding to your dealerships and not the manufacturer of the electric car, right? When it's your people, that's the home run.
Amen. Well, and Mickey, I can probably see that being done a couple different ways, Mickey. Okay. Yeah. It's something that you could do personally for the customer with a video. You could do it, and blast it out to a number of customers. You could put it on YouTube. There's a lot of ways to go about it, Mickey.
There's a million ways. It sounds like you have a whole new business to start there, Ted.
I'm thinking about getting with you right after we're done here.
15%, but I don't want to have to do anything just to come up with the ideas.
All right. Very good. Kristin?
I was just going to say that, my son, the younger generation, my 9-year-old, if he needs to fix anything, he goes to YouTube to do it, right? Where we would place a phone call, we'd call the service department, we'd do this. He goes to YouTube for everything. And now I've started doing it because it's quicker. So if we have, as Mickey said, your branded content on YouTube, when they go to Google it and they go to Nilo and then they say, oh gosh, that was really helpful. Maybe I'll go to that service drive. It's invaluable.
Kristin, a lot of dealerships are doing podcasts and looking for ways to build their audience on YouTube, more subscribers. This is probably an excellent way to do that by having somebody in the dealership do those videos. So Mickey, hats off to you and the royalties as well. All right, last
but
question.
Ted, one last point on that.
Yes.
And everything that Vanguard does and everything that we think about in a car dealership boils down to one thing. It's the retention of the customer, right? So if it's branded to these guys, dealerships, I promise you, they're much more likely to have that customer to come back to them than the car dealership that's 5 miles down the road from them and their competitor. So the more they can do to distance themselves from the manufacturer, the better it is for them, even right down to selling independent service contracts and not manufacturer service contracts can make all the difference in the world in the customer retention and creating a customer for life.
All right. Last question, lightning round. I'm going to go around to everybody. 30 seconds. I'll come to you first, Kristin, over to Ed, over to Tully. Mickey, I'll give you the last word. For your peers watching, here we are in the middle of May. We're halfway through the second quarter, almost halfway into the year. What advice do you have for your peers, your colleagues watching you today, dealer audience, in terms of incorporating all of these ideas for the EV customer and for the dealers to make this a better experience? Kristin, I'll start with you.
My number one thing is don't wait. Just do it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it's ask for forgiveness, not for permission. Just dive in and start. Don't wait. Don't talk about it because it's going to change and you got to just get out there and be on the forefront.
I love it, Kristin. Thank you. Ed Roberts.
Kristin just nailed it, and as plan for success. And you can't plan for success if you're not doing something. Mm-hmm. Get started, overcome those obstacles, and roll forward. But plan for success. Don't wait and see. Wait and see will hold everybody back.
Yep. Excellent. Thank you, Ed. Tully Williams.
The biggest thing you need to work on is, are you set up for a yearly visit? And 2, is the infrastructure at your store prepared for EVs? And I say, is your charging systems up to par? This is a waiting list. We just installed our Porsche one. We've waited for 1.5 years at $1 million to put in. That's for 4 high-speed chargers. If you talk about what Kristin said, plan now, plan your EV. 220 charges don't charge cars. Those are overnight charges. People want their car charged in 20 minutes. You need to make sure that you have a charging structure at your stores because we want them to come and visit and get a fill-up of electrons. Make sure you start on your charging systems today.
Mickey Quinn, last word for today.
As always, set up your business office so that you can create a pleasurable owner experience during the course of ownership, and that will generate revenue in your parts and service department while that consumer owns the car. Make sure that you have a robust post-sale service contract program to go after those customers who did not buy a service contract at the time of sale. There are great companies out there. APC in St. Louis do a great job for us. But that's where it is. It's always for me, and many people can argue with me, and I'll be happy to buy you a beer and argue with you about it, that everything starts for me in the business office, and the consumers and the customers' experience begin when they leave that business office. Introductions to service department. I mean, listen, if I was buying a car and someone introduced me to Tully, I would be very, very comfortable going back there and meeting him again, or Ed, knowing full well that they're very versed in what they do and that their dealerships have been there a long time. Again, those things begin in the business office. And a little bit of self-promotion. Vanguard Dealer Services considers itself the very best company in the United States of America that building and creating those business offices that will do one thing, create customers for life.
Amen.
And Mickey, you and Vanguard, you understand this business. You understand what's on the forefront. So if our audience wants to reach out to you, I see an email at the bottom. Yes. And Vanguard Dealer Services, you're nationwide.
And my cell phone number is right on the website. It's on 7 days a week. Please call. Especially if you want to give me money, call any time of the day or night. If you're looking for money, call me when I'm on vacation.
Mickey, one follow-up question. Is that a members only jacket?
It is, because, Sheryl Crow said it turns on all the ladies. So this is why I got this. I don't think, unless it adds 6 inches to my height, I don't think it's going to do much for me, Ted.
Great job, everybody. Wow, what a panel. I want to thank Kristin Jones from Vanguard, Ed Roberts from Bozard Ford Lincoln, Tully Williams from the Nilo Company, and Mickey Quinn from Vanguard Dealer Services. Thank you, everybody. Great job. The Vanguard Dealer Services panel here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Back to the 80s.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The Clean Air Car Care campaign is BG's green initiative designed to promote the BG Platinum fuel system service, which has been proven to reduce harmful emissions. Additional services featured in the campaign include the BG Platinum 44K service, which restores fuel economy, and the BG Climate Control service that will refresh the air inside your customers' vehicles. Advisors can match the service with the customer's biggest concern. Is it performance and fuel economy? Is it the environment and emissions? Or is it the air quality inside their vehicle? The services offered with the Clean Air Car Care campaign will provide your customers with clean air both inside and outside of their vehicles. Talk to your BG distributor about how to sell more services with BG Clean Air Car Care.
Teddings and I are excited to announce that BG Products is now the exclusive sponsor of the Fixed Ops Roundtable pop-up events. We look forward to seeing you at these special events coming to a dealership near you. To stay up to date, follow Cara Delaine and Teddings on LinkedIn, Facebook, and TikTok. We will see you soon. Popping up next are a few faces you may recognize from our live pop-up event. Please welcome Clint from BG North Florida and Matt Norris from Bozard Ford Lincoln.
All right, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable pop-up event, everybody. We are at Bozard Ford Lincoln in St. Augustine, Florida. Really honored to be here, Carol. We've had an amazing 24 hours here so far. And what's your first impression so far?
Wow. That was the first word that came to mind was wow. This dealership, both the dealerships are amazing. The staff is amazing. The processes are amazing. So I'm looking forward to seeing and hearing a lot more about it today.
So we've been hearing a little bit from Ed Roberts with an overview. We had Jeff King, the Vice President and General Manager here on the show. And we just heard about the power of teams. And right now I'd like to introduce two great friends of the Fixed Ops Roundtable. They are Matt Norris, who is the Fixed Ops Director, closest to Cara over there. And I've heard a lot about Matt as well. And we've got Clint Christ as well, who is the BG North Florida BG Products Distributor. Clint and Matt, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you very much.
You know, BG Products is a really big part of what we do at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I know you've got some great processes and things here at the dealership that are set up as well. Matt, I've heard a whole lot about you from our mutual friend, John Fairchild. Okay. Yeah. And I know you've gone through a lot of the training with him, but Matt, congratulations to you, first of all, on all the success that you're having at the dealership. Talk to us a little bit about BG from your perspective and the training and the support that you received before I come over to Quinn.
So I've been in the industry for a little over 23 years now, and I've been using BG products in pretty much every dealership I've been in for almost the entire time. I'm a big supporter of it. I think they make a great product. Every dealership I've been in, we've had amazing distributors, reps. The level of assistance and support that we receive from these guys has been second to none. And for us here at Bozard, it's not so much about the product, although it's a good one. It's more about the level of service that we receive from the team. And Clint and his team have been absolutely amazing with their level of service. we've got, personal friendship as well. So great guy, great group of people, great product. I can't say enough.
Yeah, and I agree. The one of the great things about BG, the power is in the distributors and the people. So Clint, honored to have you and meet you in person.
Thank you.
And talk to us a little bit about that.
Honored to be BG North Florida. We're the distributor for the North Florida. We cover 27 counties from Tallahassee to Jacksonville, Daytona, all the way down to DeLand. I've been at BG for 25 years now, representing our distributorship, who's been around for about 32 years. The biggest thing that we do is build relationships with our stores. And, when I got the phone call from Matt and so forth to come out and, talk to them about BG and bring us into their family, and I appreciate all the business we've had here. Look, having the best product, that goes a long way, believe it or not. But there's a lot of products out there that you can actually choose from. It's what you bring to the table that it is. And with the processes, and, Matt just mentioned a little bit about how, whether you're up north or you're out west or anywhere in the United States, even globally, BG has processes that we put in place, and our distributors and our reps and everybody follows those processes. So when they come in, they know what they're going to be getting. Me being a rep for 17 years, I strived on customer relations, and to bring that in with that, everybody who I brought into my team and so forth, we, if Matt would need something or any customers, so that we're there for them, as for training and how to, keep it going, keep them happy.
And I feel like that's the key factor is, and you're right, when you said, it's not necessarily the product, and we all know that you have great products, but the people that work at BG, and I'm not a fixed ops director, but I've seen it firsthand of how you guys communicate, how you care for your dealerships, all of your partners is just amazing. So I can see why Matt has so many great things to say about you guys.
Our new saying now is partner beyond products, and that's what it is. I mean, we don't want to be known as, say, a vendor. We want to become a resource so that if there is anything, pick up the phone, call us. We're, most of the time we're in your stores all the time anyway.
Yeah.
So,
one of the things that I really appreciate with Clint is, as you guys know, we have our tech development program, and we pull a lot of people of our quick lane as we continue to grow those individuals. And Clint has been amazing and outstanding with constantly coming in and training those new individuals as we cycle them in and grow them into TDP. And I know it's a lot for you guys to do that, to constantly come in and do that training, but that's a huge benefit for us that they're willing to take the time, come in and train all those new people that we have coming into quick lane as they grow. And we really appreciate it.
So Matt, as part of that process, because I see Bozard grows their people from within, you grow your own, and you bring them through and that into the main shop. So BG is part of that training process and the support that Clint and the distributor provides.
It's not just the support that we get, obviously, on the quick lane side. They support us tremendously in main shop, but we are also partnering with a local community college in their automotive and diesel program, where we have a great relationship where we're pulling those people in to start in our quick lane. But Clint and his team are not only working here, they're also partnering with the college to start working with them, training them in college as well. So,
yeah,
again,
wow.
I
love that. I had no idea.
Yeah, we were going to bring that up a little bit. And, they're getting ready to launch that. What's the best thing to have is when these guys are coming out of tech school to already learn and understand these maintenance services and how they are. And when they come into the quick lane over here, a main shop, they're already learning these services ahead of time. And then we keep up with everything that we do throughout every time we come.
How much time do you spend doing that in this training?
What they'll do is they'll set a segment. Okay, now we haven't gone with the schools yet. They're going to put in certain segments of we're going to do transmission, we're going to do coolant, we're going to do diesel, and so forth. Here at the quick lane, we'll come in between their shifts. They have a couple shifts over there, and we'll spend a couple hours at night with them. Whatever it takes, whether it's during the day or in the evening, we make it work for them.
So, I think in addition to our audience learning a whole lot more about what BG does, You know, Kara, you and I are getting a great education to see how the distributors do that on the local level. And by the way, I know BG nationally, through distributors like yourself at BG North Florida, Clint, they've got more people. BG has more people on the ground who's be able to interact, you know, with that relationship that you talked about at the dealer level, which is super.
Absolutely. And being that we have that many people out there, it's nice to know the support behind corporate with all our distributors, with all our representatives, that we all go by the same, what I call same book, so that the match display, they know when they call, hey, let's get the BG people out here. That's who we'd want to be in part with. And I really appreciate that, you know, you've trusted us with your business to come in and work with all your people. That's amazing. Thank you.
I feel like this is flowing in from the last topic we discussed, and that communication factor in the teams. And we have it here with BG and Bozard, so it's really impressive.
Yeah, it's a great relationship, and when we come in, and we're always on the cutting edge. And you know, for the technicians, we have the new tech app where they can look up services on their cell phone and see how to do the hookups. They can go online, and there's everything out there for them. I mean, we're always staying a step ahead from training to just reports, everything that we bring to the table.
Wow. All the tools in the toolbox you're providing.
We keep at it.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. BG Products is the leader. Partners Beyond Products. Want to thank today Clint Christ, who is the distributor here, BG North Florida, and Matt Norris, the Fixed Ops Director here at Bozard Ford Lincoln. So, gentlemen, thank you on behalf of the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
BG Products here today, everybody, at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Just like Luke Skywalker led the resistance against the dark side, it's up to you to wield the Force. Join us on the Evolving Leadership Challenges panel.
Welcome back to the 80s at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. This is a panel on evolving leadership challenges in the retail auto industry. I'd like to introduce the A-list to you today. They are Ed Roberts of Bozard Ford Lincoln, Steve Greenfield of Automotive Ventures, Fred Fordin of ASR Pro Pham, Steve Woessner from Blue Oceans Global Consulting, Sarah Vantine from Quantum 5, and of course, Brian Kramer from Cars.com and AccuTrade. Everybody, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Very honored to have you all with us today. I'd like to jump into the questions. And Steve Greenfield, if it's okay, I'd like to have you start off, if you don't mind. Steve, what would you say is one specific leadership challenge that dealers are going to need to address in the coming year with all that's happening in our industry?
Well, Ted, first, thanks for having me again. It's always a real pleasure to be on the show and all of my fellow panelists here today. I would say that simply it's getting back to the basics, right? So this year, the changes are already starting to mount. We're almost, a quarter of the way through the year. but these are going to continue. New vehicle inventories are going to come back with a vengeance, especially across many of the brands. As a result, new car incentives are going to mount. Used cars we're already seeing has become a lot harder than it was even just 6 months ago. And service, we haven't really felt it yet, but it might become a little bit harder as consumers start to feel interest rate increases and the budgets. We're seeing credit card balances start to increase as well. People may start to focus on their budgets and pinching pennies. So I think that really it's around can your salespeople still sell? Have they lost that muscle memory around selling? And making sure that you are focused on training your people to get back to the old way of selling and servicing.
Excellent. Brian Kramer, how do you see it?
So Ed Roberts is going to be hearing this first, but I mystery shopped him because I'm coming up to visit his dealership, and I have Ford Bronco. So I scheduled an appointment a few weeks out because I wanted to see his workflow, and I wanted to see is it real? The Ed Bozard experience, and it is as advertised. They've called me, confirmed. The customer service has been actually significantly exceeded my expectations so far, and I haven't even been there yet. So what I would say is that everybody needs to revisit the digital journey prior to arrival on the sales and the service side, but every single checkpoint, because I do this in everything I do, and I see so many old templates and responders that aren't appropriate anymore, or just I don't think that every dealer really has gone through and just done a cleaning or just an audit of what is everything in, because a lot of things have been added, but they don't always get removed. So I would just audit your own customer journey and ask, is it aligned with your vision for where, not just where it needs to be today, or is it still stuck in the 80s?
All right. Excellent, Brian. Ed, you're being mystery shopped. One specific leadership challenge that dealers need to address in the coming year.
Well, both touched on it a little bit there. It is developing our people. We have to be prepared for what tomorrow brings us. And we have to do that by preparing our people. A lot of times we spend a little bit of time setting expectations and no time preparing them to get to those expectations. And when we don't do that, that's when they consistently miss it. And then on the other side, we come back and zap them and say, hey, here's the deal. There's a place called Down the Road Motors for you. Well, none of us wins for that. And in order to be able to truly win, we got to go back. We got to train their path to get to those expectations and then deliver on them. And then have guys like Brian unknowingly shop me and tell us whether we're doing okay or not. But he's going to have to find something to tell us, hey, you guys can do better here because we got room for growth still.
I love it.
Plenty of it.
Ed, thank you. Sarah, I still view you as being from retail. You're fresh from retail, although you're with Quantum 5. And I know you can relate. One specific leadership challenge that dealers need to address in the coming year.
Well, it really boils down to retention, right? And retention of your employees. There's going to be some really big shocks coming across the retail automotive space because in sales, for example, people were earning some pretty stout commissions over the last couple of years. And there's going to be a little bit of hurt that's coming later on this year as some of these things start to settle back into norms. And the biggest challenge too is there was a lot of leadership that were promoted into sales management, general manager, GSM roles in the last couple of years. Well, are those leaders prepared for what it takes to actually lead those teams? And so that's what we're seeing with Quantum 5. We're seeing so many conversations surrounding how do I get my person that's a newly minted general manager or newly minted sales manager to actually do the right things and lead the people in my store. They were excellent salespeople. They were excellent general managers. They were excellent finance managers. But how do I elevate them as an actual leader in my organization?
Love it. Fred Fordin, from your perspective, what do you see?
Yeah, this is really interesting, Ted. And Sarah just opened the door, but I think it goes further. And I'm going to say those 4 words that none of us want to remember. 2008. We're headed toward a financial reality, not just in the country but in the world, where if we look at the guys who made it through 2008, what did they do? They strapped down, they cut heads, right? They discovered that they could do what they needed to do with less manpower, and of course, it opened the door to fixed operations opportunities. My company thrived because of we couldn't sell cars, right? So I think the biggest challenge is going to be making really, really tough decisions. All the other things that we do as car people to improve retention and prepare our managers, the decisions may get tougher than that, and the leaders have to lead, and that's why those folks get paid the big bucks, because when those decisions come, you got to be willing to make them.
Well, Steve Woessner.
So, yeah, I'll just close out. I think everybody touched on some really great points, and it makes a lot of sense. I think the thing that stands out for me is getting the leadership team right, because you have to have the right people on it. You have to give them the right training. You have to get them into the right headspace so that they can then lead your organization, because it's going to become more and more pressure filled, their jobs, as things change, as things evolve, as all these moving pieces happen. You really have to have a leadership team that you can rely on, and it thinks the way you think and has the same cultural thought that you have for the store, and thinks about people the same way. So I think your biggest challenge going into this thing really is to make sure you've got the leadership team right. Do they have the right talent? Do they have the right pieces in place? And if not, then go find them. Okay, make the effort, do what you have to do, but get that team right. And I think if you get that team right, then as Fred said, the hard decisions get a lot easier, because they're a good team. They know how to make those decisions, and they make them on a timely basis. And you're going to have to lean on them. You're not going to be able to do a one-man show on this thing. It's just too complex and too many moving pieces. So that would be my statement, is get the leadership team right first.
Steve, we're hearing a lot of common threads here, and the top of the list, I think, is people. What's your take on where we're headed?
Yes, all the panelists, I think, have done a great job to set the foundation for this answer. Really two things, right? So it's key first to diagnose where your folks need help, whether it's the rank and file folks, the frontline folks, the leadership. You need to be keenly attuned to what is the skill sets, or what are the tools they're going to need for the next 6-9 months. And then on the tail end of that, it's a combination of training and software tools. So once you diagnose what the issue is, then just be really sort of thoughtful around how you can do either remedial training and or new skill set training, and how do you support that then with a software layer too, to make sure that the skills that they are taught, they don't lose after a few months.
And Steve, Greenfield, for lack of a better term, we got away from training. Our industry got away from that on the retail side over the last few years. But now it sounds like we're back with a vengeance, because the needs are widespread.
Well, I'd love to hear what everyone else thinks, but I think that's exactly right. I mean, we've had, to Sarah's point earlier, people have lost the ability in many cases to undertake or pursue the same processes that they would have had to pre-COVID. So I think we are back to training and making sure everyone's back up to speed and level set.
Sarah, this is a softball coming over to you. The door's wide open.
Well, really, it's so much more than training too. It's really giving someone a roadmap and a progress of how they can develop in the organization. I think that is really what in training frustrates people the most. When you get into a classroom and it's like, yes, all right, I've got learning, but then what do I do afterwards? Where do I go from there? How does this feed into my everyday life inside the dealership? How does this relate to my customers? And so as leaders, what we have to be able to do is break it down. We have to set benchmarks. We have to set goals for what that training is going to accomplish. And if we can do that, then our leaders are going to be more successful, because they have the tools to hold their people accountable. They have the methodologies to constantly be checking in on their growth. And they themselves, they can hold themselves accountable to growth too.
Brian, I think of you also as still in retail, as at least fresh from retail. How are dealers going to have to empower their people to address the challenges we have ahead?
Well, it's serendipitous that Sarah's on this call, because the first thing I was thinking about is when I was in retail and Quantum 5 came in, and they taught our associates how to think instead of using slick word tracks and things like that, they actually taught them to make decisions and kind of have a decision tree. And the first step is obviously making sure that they have clarity, because they're not going to be enabled or empowered unless they, to do what they want to do as quickly and as agile as they need to be done. All of that stuff needs to, and they obviously need training in order to do that, to know how to think for themselves. I think that that over the years, decades, that the most associates have memorized scripts and word tracks, but they don't really know why, or why they're saying these things that they're saying them. And as soon as you take them off of, down to a ditch, they don't know how to get themselves back up onto the road. So obviously that, and then, with AI coming into play, I think that's going to become more and more important, because AI is going to get rid of a lot of the redundant tasks. That's going to make communication and being genuine, sincere, and authentic even more important.
And Brian, I think that fits perfectly into your wheelhouse, where you're doing at AccuTrade too. Allowing the associate on the retail side to think and to understand and to, like you just said, make sure that all of this makes sense in the real world.
Yes, and spend more time with the customer out on the, doing the walk around, same as on the drive, instead of having to go into a back room, type a bunch of stuff into a computer. They have to know how to handle those skills and not be intimidated, or, they have to be comfortable on that. And that's what increases transparency and trust.
Ed Roberts, we have some great minds on this panel, and I'm curious in asking you the same question. How are you going to empower your people to address the challenges this year and the years ahead?
Everybody is hitting it right on the head. And I'll tell people all the time, know where you want to be. Don't just come in and react to the day and take what you get. Have that vision of where you want to be, and then break that down into a plan, then break that down into goals, and not just departmental goals, but break it down to each individual. And when you do that, it becomes small enough to where they vision it getting done. You give our big old target to a department and say, this is where we need to be. The individuals don't see how to get there. But when you break it down to their level and then guide them to get there, it makes it easier for everybody.
Steve Greenfield, I'm curious, does our industry have enough Ed Roberts and Brian Kramers and Sarah Vantines to pull this off for what we're headed into, perhaps, over the next year or two or three?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the one thing that fascinates me and keeps me excited to be in this industry every year is the fact that the dealership model is so resilient. You can throw anything at dealers and they figure out how to navigate around the challenges and obstacles. So it's been proven time and time again in my 23 years. And, I always look forward to seeing the resiliency and creativity at the dealer level.
Yeah. Fred Fordin, there's a lot to be said for that resiliency and creativity. I don't think any industry bounced back as well as we did in the last couple, 2-3 years. How are dealers going to empower their leaders to address the challenges that we have ahead of us?
That's great. And, Steve just touched on something that I think the advantage of my last 15 years in the industry has been dealing with lots of dealers. And, if there's one common thread that I've always found, it's that we could take the top 2,000, 3,000 dealers and almost to the store, there's a winning culture. There's a culture of success. There's a culture of education. There's a culture of wanting to further not just the customer and the bottom line, but the individuals who work in the dealership. But when you get past those top few thousand dealers, the most common thing I've seen in all the stores I've dealt with is a winning culture missing. And so when we saw all those stores, disappear back in 08 and 09, sure. The ones that disappeared were the ones that didn't have that winning culture. So I think what they do to empower is to really they got to modernize. They've got to accept. Brian talked about AI. You got to get into winning tools. You got to be willing to learn how to use them. You got to learn how to maximize them. And winning culture pushes that down into down to the last person on the totem pole.
Steve Woessner, you've been addressing these challenges and looking at this from a whole different level. What do you see in terms of dealers empowering their leaders and people?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting. Over the years, I've done this for more than 30 years now, and the ups and downs. I think Steve's point about the resilience of the dealer model is very valid. I mean, I've seen things come and go and change up and down, and they still find a way to get there. I think the big challenge now is going to be that you're going to have multiple things coming at you in rapid succession, which is going to amp up the challenge. But I do think that the core of it has to continue to be like it is at Bozard. And I was really impressed when I went to see Ed, is it's sort of this culture of continuous improvement. In other words, his people are not afraid to fail. As a matter of fact, that's good, because then they learn from the failure and they continue to get better with each time. So you don't see him wandering around taking somebody's head off because they made a mistake. It's a culture of continuous improvement, okay? Every day we're going to get a little bit better than we were the day before, guys, and we're going to figure this out. And as things come at them and changes come at them, that kind of a mindset makes them a lot more flexible in terms of a group and a lot more able to handle the challenges and not be, as Brian said, sort of stuck on this word track that, well, I have to say what I can't change. They're very relaxed and very comfortable with situations that come up that are unexpected. And I think that's a tribute to that continuous improvement mindset. Hey, keep going, guys, keep going. Yeah, okay, that was a tough one. I got it, but keep going. We got several more coming in now. Let's go. And I think that attitude is really going to be key to survival for a lot of stores.
Steve Greenfield, I've been waiting to ask you this question for a long amount of time. Steve, what do you see coming that we don't know yet?
Well, Ted, this is always good to dig in with you on this. I think that in the next year, we're going to start to see the reality of, what I would call features on demand, the unbundling of features in the car into monthly subscription products. The OEMs in some cases are forecasting, billions of dollars of new revenue generated from those. And then over-the-air updates, pushing software updates to vehicles, which in some cases is going to start to reduce the number of cars coming in for either recalls or warranty work, right? So I think big implications to dealers around both of those things. The first around revenue share, and if the OEMs can convince consumers to pay for some of these features and activate them on a monthly basis, what kind of revenue share are they going to be willing to share back with the dealers? And then, as I said about over-the-air updates, is just preparing for the fact that as the cars get smarter and the OEMs can push updates via software, that you may start to see that some of that warranty work and recall work may start to dry up.
And Steve Greenfield, a lot of the things you're describing right now, those revenues may come directly from fixed operations at the dealer on the dealership level.
Yeah, big implications. There's no doubt.
Brian Kramer, what do you see coming that we don't know yet?
Well, a few things, and I'm going to tie into what Steve just said with an experience that I had, but I also just ordered a DeLorean, speaking of the 80s, using an NFT, and that's how they had me, what number I am. There's a digital twin that comes with it. So that's already happening, which I was pretty impressed with, that it's a registered NFT on a Polygon blockchain. And the fact that that just happened, and I know that nobody else is going to jump me in line in order to get that vehicle, and now I can sell that and actually sell my spot in line if I would like. So that's one interesting piece of technology. But the bigger piece, I would say, is what Steve just said, and it's connected car. And that's going to be the biggest transformation, I think, in the last 100 years, probably. We're working on ways to grab DTC codes over the air with AccuTrade to be able to do virtual diagnostics, to be able to put exact dollar amounts on vehicles, just using the license plate, by gathering that information over the air from a consumer's house, so they don't even have to bring it in, at all, and be totally transactional. That's one piece of it. Being able to pull build sheet data and know exactly, not more than a 17-digit VIN, all the equipment that's on a vehicle. And I think that's really just the tip of the iceberg. We are actually having a Chat GPT integration. That's the APIs in development right now, not just on the for comment builders and things like that, but for image Dolly AI that'll be able to decode options and equipment on the vehicle based on previous photos, things like that. that'll be able to then merchandise the vehicle, all using artificial intelligence. So I think it's really just the tip of the iceberg with connected car and AI.
Ed, you're on the front lines. What do you see coming that we don't know yet?
So that could be any number of things. Steve talked about a few, Brian talked about a few. Let's talk about what we just went through over the last year or so and what we've done to trade cycle. I mean, that our trade cycle could really extend out, and then that is really going to feed fixed ops because mobility is not going away. But one thing that I would tell everybody, no matter what's coming at us, is be open-minded, be flexible, and be adaptable. And that's one of our successes here. When the manufacturer rolls out something, when somebody else comes up with whatever, a lot of times we resist it because we don't want to change who we are, and we resist it. And the dealers that get it, they're already moving forward. They embrace it right from the beginning, and they roll forward with it, and they're ahead of the ball game by the time the rest of them says, okay, we'll join in. And so if there's anything to take from that, be open-minded, be flexible, be adaptable, and throw away the unwillingness to change.
Yeah. Great advice. Sarah, what do you see coming that we don't know yet?
This is a fun question because from Brian and Ed and Steve, they've shared some great things. I'm going to talk briefly about some of the challenges that I don't think we're anticipating at the dealer level. And that comes down to technology readiness. And it's something that we see when we're implementing our training and our processes and we're coaching. But one of the things that becomes a challenge, there's so many different amazing technology tools that we have at our disposal in dealerships. And what we sometimes run into is we have personnel that don't know how to set up a TikTok. They don't know how to do Instagram. They don't know how to do anything online. And then take it even further. Let's talk about our tools like our MPI tools in the shop. Does your shop have enough Wi-Fi capabilities that your technicians aren't getting frustrated? Are there pieces like that that are missing completely from the conversation in our dealerships? And I think that's the piece that a lot of dealerships aren't ready for. They're ready to embrace a lot of the digital processes. They want to support the customer through the sales process online. They want to help the customer get ready for service. They want to set a great experience in the service appointment. But you have these silos in the dealership where these departments are exclusive to their own channels. They don't communicate with each other about the types of communication that's going out. And so what we need to do and be ready for is, how do all of these pieces interact? What is the customer experience? And then how do our people facilitate it? And even further than that, can they facilitate it? We have to start with where they are and crawl, walk, run into technology.
Fred, what do you see coming that we don't know yet?
Yeah, this is a great question. I don't know what I don't know. And so it really, I've been thinking about this since you sent the questions yesterday, and I'm really I'm going to tie it back to the answer to the first question. I think what's in front of us that we don't know yet is we're going to have all this inventory. We've established that. We know that's going to happen. Used car values are dropping. We know that that's happening, and so we're going to start seeing a lot of underwater situations in dealerships. And then the EVs are coming. And we have no idea yet. Everybody's got a plan and a story, but the infrastructure is not there for what's, the commitments that the OEMs are making to deliver EVs. The infrastructure doesn't exist to support it. So I think we got a mess coming that we're going to have to, back to the resiliency Steve talked about. We're going to have to be resilient because we're going to have customers calling and screaming from the side of the road that they got to a charging station and 4 of the 5 chargers don't work and there's, 7 cars in line, right? We're going to deal with things that we've never dealt with before. And then there's the economy. And what is that? If we were in a healthy economy, this mix, we almost could fake our way through it because we're good at what we do. But when you're in a bad economy, you can't fake this stuff. You got to deliver. And so it's going to be a really, really interesting few years in front of us.
Steve Woessner, what do you see coming that we don't know yet?
Yeah, I think Fred said it and the others did as well. It's, the unknown. I think the interesting thing is that the technology that Brian was talking about, people getting comfortable with, and Sarah was saying the same thing. I think it's it's absolutely critical that more and more people get comfortable with technology, because a lot of the technology that's coming is actually going to be able to solve problems that before this were unsolvable. Okay. I mean, it's literally going to change the game, where you can't say, oh, that can't be done. Yes, it can be done. And in many cases, it can be done relatively efficiently too, and relatively cost effectively. So that comfort level and being engaged in that, and I do think when you start looking at, Brian mentioned it early, artificial intelligence, you're also going to look at virtual reality. I mean, they're starting to sell those headsets. They're starting to sell that. I mean, people use those things now in the housing industry. They use them in other areas. You're going to see them using them more and more in car sales and in car situations. And I just think that a lot of this is going to be, you know, something completely new. And lastly, I'll say the concept of mobility is changing. Okay, you don't have to buy a car to get mobility. Okay, and that's going to change even more. I mean, mobility as a service, and a lot of people look at it and say, well, do I really want to buy a depreciating asset that's going to be worth less and less all the time so that I can move around where I want to go? Trust me, if you can come up with another way of helping me move around that doesn't require me to do that, I'm in. And I think a lot of people are going to start to see that and going to start to say, hey, why not? The technology's there to do it that wasn't there before. And I think that's going to be critical. So it'll be interesting, but I think as Fred said, you don't know what you don't know. So
everyone, great answers. I want to take the last question as a lightning round and give everybody just 30 seconds to answer this question. I'm going to go in order, starting with Brian Kramer at the bottom, up to Sarah, over to Steve Woessner, Fred Fordin, then Steve Greenfield, Ed Roberts. I'm going to ask you to bring it home. Brian Kramer, coming to you first. What would you say in 30 seconds, Brian Kramer, will be the most needed leadership skill at the dealership level in the retail auto industry in the next few years? The most needed leadership skill, Brian Kramer.
The ability to build a culture and to understand how to implement that, and the ability to establish trust, and not just, oh, I trust you, but, you know, ethical, moral trust. That's what most people think of, but personal trust, teaching up and coming associates, do you do what you say you're going to do? Do you honor commitments? You know, and then technical trust. Obviously, you got to know how to do the job. But I think that right now, that's not going to be as relevant as the other two are going to be over the next, 3 to 5 years.
And Brian Kramer, this is a great thing for our industry. The fact that you're giving this answer at this time now, and that our industry is poised and ready for that.
I couldn't agree. Yeah. And then there's a lot of dealers out there, to Fred's point, that I see in that top bracket that are very resilient, very elastic and adaptable. I'm going to get my oil changed tomorrow at one of them.
All right. Want to hear how that works out. Sarah Vantine, 30 seconds in the lightning round. What would you say is the most needed leadership skill at the dealership level?
It just boils down to communication and being able to be adaptable to who your employees are, who your customers are. That's one of the biggest pieces that we see knowledge gaps in, is just we get very comfortable communicating in the style that meets us. And I might be an extroverted person and long-winded, and I might enjoy a lot of details and personal, tidbits thrown in. But if I'm talking to somebody that is analytical and they want just the facts, our personalities aren't going to match up. So I need to be able to facilitate that approach, whatever my people are comfortable with. And so as leaders, we need to be able to look for those cues in our customers and our employees and teach them those same skills too. Teach them how to adapt and become a chameleon across how they communicate with customers and employees.
Great point, Sarah. Steve Woessner, 30 seconds, most needed leadership skill at the dealership level.
Yeah, I think as this complexity amps up and data becomes more important, I think the element of critical thinking. I think critical thinking is going to become a much bigger part of the business. This flying by the seat of your pants is going to get harder and harder and harder to do. So you're going to have to engage in more critical thinking, and you're going to have to be in a position where you understand what the data changes mean. You understand what the trends are so that you can apply them when you're leading your team and when you're working with your people and helping them to understand the why. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing as these changes happen. The more they can understand the why, because you've been doing the critical thinking and helping them understand that, the better off they'll be.
Excellent, Steve. Fred, most needed leadership skill at the dealer level.
Stick-to-itiveness. The thing that got you where you are when the proverbial poop starts to hit the fan and we have all this new stuff coming at us, can you keep your thumb on the button? Are you going to be able to continue to drive with the same energy and enthusiasm that got you up to a senior level? Because if sudden, listen, it was easy when things were good. If you can't do that when things get tough, everybody in the dealership's going to suffer.
Steve Greenfield, the most needed leadership item in the dealership level over the next few years.
Well, it's a great question. And I would argue it's less a leadership skill and more of a frame of mind or mindset. Ed had said, quite notably, like flexibility and adaptability. Yeah. I said earlier in the call here, resiliency. And to use a sports analogy, a lot of the game is going to be mental, right? A lot of these trends that we've discussed today can create anxiety for folks playing in the game. But, think of it like surfing, right? The winners will learn to ride these waves and be prepared for this accelerating rate of change that we're all going to experience. But the winners are going to have the right mindset.
Love it. Ed Roberts, bring us home.
So I'm going to hit it from a little bit of a different angle, except let's make sure that we're creating the right development programs that allows it to be cool to be in automotive. And then to add to that, use connected vehicle data to communicate with our customers at the perfect time. Learn how to use connected vehicle data to our advantage. That's our opportunity going forward.
Wow. What a great panel, everybody. What a great panel. Great information. We could easily go another half hour or an hour or two. I want to thank the panel today, Ed Roberts, Steve Greenfield, Fred Fordin, Stephen Woessner, Sarah Vantine, Brian Kramer. Absolutely fantastic information and extremely timely for our industry. Everybody, evolving leadership challenges in the retail auto industry. Here today, back at the 80s at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.